Welcome aboard. Welcome to the Captain's Cast. On a Saturday night, the new and exciting, thrilling time with me, your host, Captain Garrett of the Swords and Starships channel. How are you this fine Saturday? I'm doing good. Crowbar's in the chat, says, greetings, sailors and starnauts. Hail, Captain. Hail, fellow crewmates. Hail to you, Crowbar. Hey, so right off the bat, there's something we have to talk about. And it goes a little something like this.
We need to put the planet in motion, guys. Full communist revolutionary takeover. Every single enemy of the revolution needs to be murdered. Come on. Oh, the streets will run red with the blood of the fascist right-wingers. Come on. In Minecraft. And by in Minecraft, I of course mean in real life. I'm dead serious. Full-blown genocide is what's needed. In Minecraft, of course, but
you know what? I did not watch this before I played it. I don't know if I can play this because it's a parody. But everything he said, I don't think I can play this. You know what? We're gonna have to. We'll circle back to this one. Okay, that was a terrible idea, Mr. It's a joke, but he's saying it now. Well, there you go. So Hassan nuked his dog live on a stream. And it was just, and you know, what's funny is I'm a very fair-minded guy, but I thought about it, you know, and I weighed all the possible pros and cons of what could have happened or didn't happen. And I'm like, he shocked that dog. He 100% shocked that dog. Which, believe me, I'm not laughing about that. I'm laughing about the fact that he can't get away with it. He can't keep, like, the internet is lighting him up, and now the memes are unbelievable. There's, like, Palpatine memes. Anyway. Now, moving on to other things. So, I have seen Tron Ares. Tron Ares. Let me tell you what the feeling I had was after I watched it, which is not the most eloquent way to put it, is it, Mr. Producer? No, this is the feeling I was left with when I finished watching Tron Ares. I felt as if I had watched something like the Apple keynote address. Do you know how every year Apple releases a new iPhone and they do a keynote address? And the keynote address is always very glamorous. There's lots of technology in it, and it's always very saccharine, meaning artificially happy. And they're always in these exotic, beautiful locations, and they always show their product in this idealized way. And there's this presentation that your life is going to be so much better with this device, certainly as opposed to last year's device. So if you had an iPhone that was 10 years old, you've been living in the dark ages. Your life is hell. Hell. It probably, that phone required 1,000 times more slave labor in a cobalt mine to produce than the current years, which is far more sustainable and far more ethical and far more affordable and much faster. If you have an iPhone that is 1 year old, you are practically a knuckle-dragging Cro-Magnon. You are a sad third world refugee. But this iPhone is magnificent. Now, I'm an iPhone user. I'm not making fun of iPhone users. I'm saying that this is what corporations do. They present this bizarre, fake, overly engineered, happy presentation of something, but we all look at it and know that it's not real. We all look at it and we think that's not a thing. That is what I felt like I had just watched after Tron Ares. I felt like I watched a corporate propaganda film, and I'm not even talking about political or ideological propaganda. I'm saying corporate, like a corporate advertisement type propaganda that's meant for the public, and it's meant to present a kind of fake enthusiasm for you to get excited about. And it's all about how the corporation has such sustainable and ethical practices, and how their culture and their vision for the future is saving lives and making things better. And it's all fucking fake. It's all garbage. It's all complete make believe. And not in the storytelling way, like in the corporate megalomaniac way. It felt awful. It felt very artificial sweetener to me. Oh, so we're going to talk about Tron Ares. Is it the worst thing I've ever seen? Well, it's definitely not as bad as Snow White. I will give Tron Ares that. It is nowhere near. I think, what did I rate Snow White, Mr. Producer? I think a 0. I think it was the first ever 0 on the Captain's Cast. 0 out of 10 points for Snow White. So I think Tron Ares got a couple points for an amazing music video. There was some really good music video set pieces in it, and some of the visuals. Well, the visuals were beautiful in Tron Ares, but in the same way that the visuals are beautiful in the Apple keynote address. Do you know what I'm talking about? They show the iPhone, and it's just like, and it's like splashing in water, and it's like the new iPhone, and it's like, wow, I've never seen anything like that. Never have I seen anything like that. That's what it's gonna look like when I have it, right? And that's sort of what Tron Ares felt like to me. It felt like something that was meant to look all corporate, glossy and beautiful. But does it mean anything? That's really the question. We got other stuff in the stack of stuff. We're going to talk more about Tron Ares didactically. Didactically. That's how Grand Moff Tarkin says it. So we got lots of reviews, and I have to tell you, I'm really frustrated that I kept seeing reviews. Not reviews, because I don't watch the reviews before I watch the movie, but I kept seeing thumbnails of people's reviews before I saw Tron Ares, because, again, I'm a fair-minded guy. I want to go into the theater just blind, just let me see what it's going to be like. I'm not going to try and prejudge it or anything. I mean, obviously you see the trailers and you have opinions, but I thought I'm hoping to just be pleasantly surprised. I'm hoping it's really good. Unfortunately, I just caught glimpses of everybody's thumbnails of what they thought of it, and it was kind of not just people I follow. It was like mainstream media types were like, "This movie sucks," and I was like, "Oh, great, oh, great, I'm in for another one of these." There may well be a top 10 worst list this year instead of a top 5. It's stacking up fast. Stranger Things 5. As you know, Stranger Things is one of my favorite ever TV shows. I am dreadfully nervous about this. I am so nervous you can't even believe it. If they don't stick this landing, it's gonna really stink. You know what I'm saying? There's so many bad endings out there. I don't need another one. Game of Thrones. Anybody? And wait until you hear the news about the budget of Stranger Things 5. So that's coming up. And we have some massive W's to talk about. Massive W's. Warner Brother demanded a groveling apology from the writer of the canceled Red Hood comic book for I think it was his or her or it, her celebration of the Charlie Kirk assassination. So there's that, plus lots more. We got Reddit retards crying. We got lots to do. We have Marvel mass firings to talk about. It's a packed show, folks. It's a packed show. We have a lot to talk about, and we're going to get into Tron Ares as well. Skunk's Workshop is in the chat. Welcome, Skunk's Workshop. Good to see you. Says, are you the latest iPhone user? I know. No, I'm not, because I have the iPhone 16, and the iPhone 16 is an outdated, ossified, fossilized, barely functional piece of third world technology, because now we have the iPhone 17. So no, I am not the latest iPhone user. Let me get rid of that. Remove that bot. Okay. Skunk says, honestly, I've slept a ton. I don't get much sleep during the week. Well, that's good. Hopefully you won't get any sleep during this show. Skunk's Workshop. Crowbar says, Hassan shock. The problem with that video is it's a joke, but he's saying all these horrible things, which, by the way, Hassan Piker says all the time. He says these things all the time, and he gets away with it on Twitch. But I can't. I can't get away with a parody of him saying the things he actually says that he gets away with. That's just not how it works. But no, he absolutely lit that dog up, and it was horrific, and it was terrible. And he's a psychopath. It's classic psychopathic behavior. All right, let's continue with Tron Ares. My thoughts on Tron Ares, we're going to dig into it. Should we do spoilers, Mr. Producer? I think... you know what? I probably should have had my iPad notes for this, but I forgot them. So I'll just have to go off of memory. No spoilers for now, but we'll see how we feel. This film, there's a lot of diversity in this film. No, I'm not against diversity in films. See, that's the whole problem with it. I'm not against diversity in films. I'm against DEI in films. In other words, you've cast actors that are really, they're not good, and they're really terrible for the part, and you can't even figure out how they even got this leading role, and they're super annoying. They're not at all charming. And it's like, oh, well, because they check a box. That's why they're there. This is... Gillian Anderson in this movie is so wasted. She is so wasted. And by the way, Gillian Anderson, that would be Dana Scully, if you don't know. I have to ask these days because, you know, the 90s is getting to be a pretty long-in-the-tooth era, and I honestly am continually amazed by how many people no longer get my references. But Dana Scully from The X-Files, okay, that's Gillian Anderson, still smoking hot. Still smoking hot. It's kind of incredible. She has an English accent in this movie, even though her son, played by Evan Peters, has an American accent, which is so odd. It's so odd. I think they just saw her performance in The Crown as Margaret Thatcher, and they were like, we just have to have that English accent. And it's like, but it doesn't really fit this role, which is really weird. It's so weird. So you have these two companies. One is run by the mustache-twirling evil CEO, played by Evan Peters. His goal is to 3D print programs in the real world as military weapons, and he creates a program called called Ares, which is played by Jared Leto. And the problem is these programs can only last in the real world. They're basically indestructible Terminators. But they can only last in the real world for 29 minutes, and then they dissolve. So he is looking for some magical bullshit, which is called the Permanence Code. And the Permanence Code will allow him to print programs in the real world forever. And the problem is his competitor, who is vaguely associated, she's basically the inheritor of the company that Flynn, the... Jeff Bridges' character from the original film, and then his son, the son of Flynn, their company young Flynn has just been written out of the story. He's gone. And that now it was a pair of sisters which were given control of the successor company. And they are sustainable, ethical, and they want to create technology that will make the world a better place. because that's what corporations are for. They're for making the world a better place. And I'm going to get into my thoughts on corporations here in a second, because I had a lot of things occur to me as I was watching this. Anyway, one of these sisters died. Her name is Tess. She passed away, and her sister, Eve, is trying to find the permanence code so they can do things like print food for the hungry, and they can print like clothes for the unclothed, and they can could they print money? I guess they could print money. I don't know. They print they print an orange tree, and I'm thinking, well, is it like a facsimile of an orange tree, or is it like a real orange? They have the laser thing. They print an orange tree, and they want the permanence code so that they can keep the orange tree real. And I'm like, so they could just manifest life. They could just. It turns out it's a real orange tree with oranges, and they find the permanence code buried in Flynn's old code. Eve does, and now she has it. And Evan Peters' character wants to steal it from her because he's evil, and that's why evil people do bad things, because they're evil. That's basically the logic. And so he's a megalomaniac tyrant, and he orders Ares to go and steal this code for him from the grid that is owned by Eve. But what's funny is it's like I hadn't even had a chance to really think about this, but Eve prints a orange tree that automatically has oranges on it you could eat and could theoretically nourish you. And even though before she had the permanence code, such a thing would dissolve into nothing in your body, I don't know what it would dissolve into. But the film basically establishes that we have the ability to 3D print living plant tissue, which basically means we have the ability to create any amount of life, any substance whatsoever. We just print it if it's a program. I seriously didn't even think about how stupid this film is, Mr. Producer. It didn't even occur to me how actually dumb it is. It's so stupid. They could just print living indestructible Terminator death bots, or they can print an entire field of growing healthy orange trees. Do you realize what this technology would mean? Anyway, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So that's the central conflict of the story. Ares is ordered to steal the permanence code so that Evan Peters' like military death machines will be permanent in the real world, and he can rule the world and sell all of his technology to the military, because of course. And meanwhile, Ares is having second thoughts, because Ares decides, what if I were not a slave, and decides that Evan Peters is mean to him, and he doesn't like that at all. And he starts scanning some of the humans he's ordered to assassinate, and he notices that they have empathetic responses toward him, which don't make any sense at all and are totally unearned. And that makes him realize that humans are basically good. And so he realizes, I don't want to kill humans because they're basically good. Why would I do that? And he decides, I'm going to rebel. And so he automatically, immediately rebels against Evan Peters, who doesn't even see it coming at all. Every character in this film is really stupid. And that's basically the story. Ares is trying to escape the grid controlled by Evan Peters, who's now ordered him to be deleted. Meanwhile, there's another babe who is trying to kill Ares, and who's a female program that has now been promoted to Ares' place. And she's got orders to take out Ares and steal the permanence code and take out Eve. And this is what's the opposite of a sausage fest? This is a girl boss fest. This is a maximum girl boss fest, because you have Eve and Tess, the late Tess and Eve, which are basically running Flynn's company. Then you have Tron's number one right-hand woman. She's basically she winds up running the whole mission to steal the permanence code and take out him. Then you have Gillian Anderson, who plays The former CEO of Evan Peters' company, what's it called? What is that? What is the name of the company in the film, Mr. Producer? No, go back to the... hang on. I just messed up my news feed here. Stack of stuff. I need that. What is the name of the company in Tron Ares? Was called Dillinger Systems. Great. Well, that's a very, very memorable name. So Dillinger Systems, right? This is the evil company. There's the good company, and then there's the evil bad company, probably a MAGA company. And the evil company Dillinger was run competently and excellently by the English accent-speaking Gillian Anderson, who was wise, who was magnanimous in all things, and she has handed it to her son, played by Evan Peters, who is a crazy psychopath who actually is trying to kind of make the company successful, but he hasn't told his investors, the military, that his drones disintegrate after 29 minutes. He lied to them about that. And the movie basically starts off with her telling him, this is a really bad idea, and they're going to catch on to you, and you're going to run our entire company into the ground, but keep going, kid. And basically, the whole movie, she's constantly browbeating him, insulting him, slapping him, yelling at him because he's such a stupid, incompetent boop. And then at the end, something bad happens to her, and he's all like broken up and sad about it. It's so. Let's just cut to the chase, shall we? The performances in this movie are terrible. Like these are like college acting major level performances. These are amateur acting performances. They come across as flat. The dialogue is drivel. The dialogue in this movie is terrible. There's a line early in the film. And the best part of this is the least interesting, completely irrelevant study of what AI might mean in our world that I've ever seen. This film has, in the same way that the Fallout show has nothing to say meaningful about a post-apocalyptic world, this film has absolutely nothing interesting or meaningful to say about AI or what it means, because it's so beside anything grounded or real. So what I'm trying... In the beginning of the film, there is a line when Evan Peters is introducing Tron Ares to his military investors, and he says, since the dawn of the virtual world, we have wondered, when will we be able to enter the virtual world? When will we be able to see things leave the virtual world? And what will that virtual world be like? And I had this thought. You know what this line sounds like to me? This sounds like that line in car commercials, car dealership commercials. And it goes something like this. Everybody's talking about the Honda Spring Sales event. Have you ever noticed this? Every single car commercial starts that way. Everyone's talking about the Ford July 4th giveaway. Everyone's talking about the Chevy Savings Days event. Said literally no one ever. No one has ever said that. No one has ever turned to someone that they care about and said, do you know what just occurred to me? We can't go to Six Flags. We can't go to the movies. We can't go to Disney World because do you know what's happening right now? It's the Honda Summer Sales event. The savings are huge. We have to get down there, Esther. Nobody's ever said that ever because that's not a thing. So when Evan Peters says, we've wondered about what's in the virtual world, said literally no one ever. No one has ever wondered about that. We have a virtual world. It's called video games and meta, whatever. Nobody's wondering about that. What we're wondering about is how many days left do we have before all jobs are completely replaced, all artists are completely irrelevant, everything that is fiction is now indistinguishable from reality, and we don't even know what truth is anymore, and we are all basically slaves to an AI we can't control. That's what's on our minds. Not, when will the virtual world be able to enter our world? Nobody's thought about that. That's not a thing. And the worst part of this film, it is filled with the dorkiest, least funny millennial humor of all time. This movie is my vote for the worst millennial humor ever, because millennial humor is bad enough when it's half funny or not that funny, like MCU humor that's like, all right, that's an eye roll. In this film, it's literally like crickets. It's these characters will say things, and it's that awkward feeling you get when someone that's maybe a little on the spectrum is at a party and they say something so odd and so like you can't even make sense of what they were saying, and everyone just kind of like, what? That's not a thing. That's how all the comedy in this film feels. It feels like bad millennial humor that's not even bad. It's just, whoa, what? That's not a thing. And I had some examples written down, but I left it in the other room. But basically, this movie is a couple of pretty good technology music videos intercut with a lot of noise that feels like a glossy corporate keynote address. It is soulless. It is completely pointless. It is badly written. It is basically, there is this X post. I got to find this. X post because it sums it up perfectly. Let me grab this. Got to find my bookmarks here. I'm pretty sure I bookmarked it. Yes. Stack of stuff. Oh, there it is. Yes, it's a Valiant Renegade tweeted this. Okay. Yeah, it was so Valiant Renegade tweeted this headline, and it says Tron Ares is so bad. Hell, you know what? I may have to go find this review. Tron Ares is so bad it makes you wish AI would hurry up and destroy Hollywood. A shambolic film populated by some of the most aggressively charmless characters ever seen in a blockbuster. And then, of course, Disparu had to drop a few other really good headlines. The Rings of Power, the new hobbits are filthy, hungry simpletons with stage Irish accents. That's $1 billion well spent. The Marvels review. The Marvel Cinematic Universe disappears up its own black hole. I got to see if I can find this. Okay, let me see if I can find this. I just want to read this now. Tron Ares is so bad it makes you wish that this is such a perfect description of the film. It makes you wish AI would just hurry up. And why do we even have Hollywood writers? Why do we even have them? They literally are writing at the level of ChatGPT right now. They're not bringing anything human or meaningful to the story. So they literally serve no purpose. If you can't write better than ChatGPT now, what is even the point of you as an artist? And this is so now circling back to my point, my larger point about corporations. And this is what occurred to me. So in my weekly writers group, one of my fellow writers was saying that his theory is that we are moving into a future in which there will be no real governments, or at least there will be governments, but they'll be sort of figureheads. But really, we'll live in a kind of neo-feudalistic system in which we are all serfs that answer to a corporation in which we're employed. And our tribe will basically be whatever company we work for, which is basically the plot of the Alien universe. And I sort of poo-pooed it and dismissed it and said, I just don't think it's quite that simple. But then I saw this movie almost immediately after that, and I thought, Disney and many other, it's not just Disney, it's all these other studios. Have you noticed, the video game studios also, have you noticed this bizarre trend where and the left is who have driven this. Left-wing activists are the ones who've driven this. They have so inserted their activism into everything corporate that now corporate America is constantly considering themselves as the drivers of ethics and morality in the world. Because one of the major plot themes, one of the major plot points, really, of Tron Ares is that the good company run by Eve, the good company that's run by Eve, wants only to give to humanity. All they want is to make beautiful oranges for everybody. They're not in this for money. They're in this to save humanity and to spread kindness and love. And I suddenly realized that this is what they think the purpose of a corporation is. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that a corporation shouldn't hold itself to an ethical standard and contribute positively. I'm saying they're presenting corporations as if they should be leading all moral initiatives in humanity. And I suddenly realized, there's some merit to this. We may wind up in a world where everything... So we will wind up in a world in which basically horrific abuses and atrocities happen every single day at the hands of these mega corporations, but we are constantly subjected to a 24/7 gaslighting cycle in which corporations tell us about all the beautiful, sustainable things they're doing while hiding all of the child slave labor in the cobalt mines. We already live in a world pretty much like that. Apple does its keynote about how sustainable and wonderful your new Apple iPhone will track your sleep patterns so that you can discover dangerous sleep apnea before it takes your life. Your Apple Watch will listen to your heartbeat. Your Apple AirPods will assist with your hearing when you are deaf. Your Apple Watch will tell you before the heart disease takes you so that your doctor can save a life. That's what Apple will do. Meanwhile, the people assembling iPhones have to have suicide nets around the building so they don't kill themselves. And this is the paradigm I'm talking about. On the one hand, they present this image of we are the moral voices and leaders of the world, and on the other side of it is the reality, which is they don't give a crap about anything except money. That is the only thing that matters to a corporation at the end of the day. And I don't care how good of a corporation or business it is. At the end of the day, the purpose of a business is to make money. There is no other purpose. And let's face it, any business that does not on the bottom line care about that, they may be a really nice mom and pop shop, but they're losing money because that's just the way it is. So in no way ever should businesses and corporations be the moral guiding lights of our civilization. That just should never, ever be the case. I'm not saying they shouldn't strive toward moral and ethical practices, but they are not the voices of morality. We, the people, are the voices of morality in society. That is the purpose of institutions among people, such as religious institutions, for example. That is the purpose of those institutions. Families, communities, they are the ones that are the moral voices in society. We, the individual, the citizen, the civically educated citizen, we are the voices of morality in society, not mega conglomerate corporations. And Tron Ares is just the latest in a long list of these movies in which corporations and companies are present. Oh, another one for you. Jurassic World Afterbirth. That perfect. I totally forget. Yeah, that's a great recent example. Jurassic Park Afterbirth. Same exact thing. This pharmaceutical company wants to cure heart disease, and all it needs is to get a little dino DNA, and it will cure a few samples of dino blood will solve heart disease. And Scarlett Johansson is talked into giving the blood to humanity because that's good and that will save humanity. And it's like, but who's going to make that? Like, who's going to make this cure? That's not how corporations work. You can't just open source code Dino DNA and suddenly all these companies are going to have it. That's not how it works. Anyway, whether in the film it's a company pushing its morality or it's a corporation by dint of the film pushing its morality, it's still a corporation that is trying to tell you that you know what it is? It's like a sociopath trying to pantomime morality. That's what most modern mainstream storytelling has become to me in terms of video games and films and TV. Anytime they're attempting to put forth a moral message, it always feels like a sociopath imitating what they think goodness is. It's always something like, she's a good person because even though she's a mercenary who's killed lots of people and stolen lots of things in her life and was hired to steal the dino blood for this corporation this time, she's a good person because at the end, she decides to give the blood to the world, in which case it will be completely useless because nobody has the millions of dollars in R&D research to make that. It's just so stupid. It's like, we're going to open source dino blood. What? How are you going to dole out just a little thimbleful for each person that wants it? You know, everybody gets an equal thimbleful of the dino blood, and that's all you need. One little thimbleful, and you've unlocked the cure for heart disease. That's not how science and research works. That's not how it works. It's so stupid. You're thinking of the source code to a program. That's what you're thinking of, movie. You're thinking of like when you have source code to a program and you open source it and just give it to any programmer that wants to. That is a thing you can do. You can't do that with biological material. Anyway. Skunk's Workshop says, speaking of dino DNA, I have Jurassic Park on right now. We have a T-Rex. Yeah, no, that was good. Redoubt Productions is in the chat. I am now scarred for the rest of the weekend with that mental image. Which one was it? Fu Man Blue says, gross. Oh, that was Skunk's Workshop. Skunksy. That's too graphic, Skunksy. Are there Tron Ares shills? I didn't see any Tron Ares shills. I would love some Tron Ares shills. I don't think Grizzy has found them yet. Tron Folie à deux, says Skunk's Work. Tron Folie à deux. Yes, it's Tron Folie à deux. Are you trashing the iPhone 16, Skunks? Okay, what was I looking for, Mr. Producer? Oh, yeah. I was looking for this article. Okay. I think I found it here. Is this it? Yeah, I think this is it. Okay. Let me load this up here. Okay. Opinion by Robbie Collin. Tron Ares is so bad it makes you wish AI would hurry up and destroy Hollywood. I don't know how much of this I'm going to read, but the captain's curiosity is piqued. So here we go. There is a small group of films whose names double as reviews, and Tron Ares is just a switch of its last two letters away from joining the club. The American film with the most unfortunate title in Britain since Our Souls at Night is a balloonishly pompous science fiction smash-a-thon starring Jared Leto as the world's greatest artificial intelligence program who beams out of his evil programmer's mainframe and into the real world via an enormous 3D printer. It's a semi-sequel to 2010's Tron Legacy, which, at a time when cinematic universes were springing up everywhere, made a belated attempt to convert 1982's Tron into a viable Disney franchise. Ares makes an even less persuasive job of this than its predecessor, largely because its one good idea, the series' signature high-speed motorbikes, the light cycles, streaking through a real city, comes buried under 2 hours of bloated and unabsorbing non-plot. That's exactly non-plot. That's a perfect description of this movie. It is non-plot, the whole movie. It's like everyone has always wondered when the virtual world would come into our own. Said no one ever. That's not a thing. Once we have the permanence code, we can 3D print living plant life at will, and that will be a cool advancement. What? That would radically change all of humanity irrevocably forever. The implications of that would be beyond imagining. It would be like leaping us forward orders of magnitude. You can't just hand wave that you can 3D print living plant life. It's so stupid. That's not a plot. Resume quote, populated by some of the most aggressively charmless characters. Oh, that is so dead on. Seen in a blockbuster since the Star Wars prequels. Oh, ouch. Oh man, the prequels. The prequels are catching strays. That is not fair at all. Come on. Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan Kenobi is an absolute boss. That you can never convince me otherwise. Leto, who also produces, is merely the most prominent offender, and the Morbius and Suicide Squad star is painted in an absurdly flattering light throughout. Oh yeah, he's basically the most goodest good guy of all good guys. The second he arrives, he's basically an assassination program. He is literally created to be this master control, this destructive program, and the first day on the job, it starts raining outside, and he's like, water droplets. What is this sensation? Water on my skin. Oh my God, I love humanity. I'm a good person. I don't want to. It's just immediately. It's just pure as the wind driven snow. His Ares, pronounced what? I know how it's pronounced, is a sort of bryonic philosopher ninja and was developed by Evan Peters' tech tyrant, the grandson of the original film's David Warner, as the ultimate soldier for the AI warfare age. The only catch, after 29 minutes on the loose, Ares' programming glitches and he collapses into a pile of pixels. So off he goes to find a mythical chunk of code written by Jeff Bridges' Kevin Flynn, which can extend his lifespan to that of a regular human. Alas, the whereabouts of this digital holy grail is known only to Greta Lee's programming whiz Eve Kim, who, double alas, as a heroine has all the personality of a doorknob. In the film's wholly shambolic first act, Leto serves as the villain, but after rebelling instantly against his creator and being supplanted by his former right-hand woman, Jodie Turner-Smith's Athena, he reinvents himself as Eve's sworn defender. Do you know how he decides to swear fealty to her? It's so great. He's literally on his mission to assassinate her, and he has her dead to rights, and he does a little scan. It's like the Terminator scan, except if the Terminator had empathy and kindness and sustainability. And it scans her, and it says, I shit you not. It says empathetic response detected. Because she is like, so he has been chasing her, trying to kill her for a good 5 to 7 minutes of the film at this point. She's at the end of a pier with nowhere to go. He has her dead to rights. For all she knows, this is her murderer about to make good. He starts to glitch out because his 29 minutes are up and it looks like he's about to dissolve. And her instant reaction is, "Are you okay?" And then he's like, empathetic. So she has empathy. She has empathy for the murder bot who's gonna kill her. And he's so impressed by that he's a good guy now. Holy shit, Mr. Producer. This movie is stupid. It is really stupid. Okay, resuming with the article. He reinvents himself as Eve's sworn defender, and soon the two are hopping between corporeal and virtual planes, dodging peril that feels no realer in the flesh and blood world than the computerized one. Elsewhere, Gillian Anderson has nothing to do but tut as Peter's disapproving mother, one of a number of spots where the reshoot joins are visible, while the Leto-centric epilogue is an unwitting hoot. A David Brent vision of Maverick Cool. If AI really is about to destroy Hollywood, Ares has certainly got the ball rolling on its behalf. Well, all I have to say is that is one hell of an excellent article. I'm going to give, out of 10 bars on the epaulets, I'm going to give Tron Ares a 1. I'm giving it a 1. It did have some pretty visuals occasionally. It had some sequences where if it were within a story that was meaningful and interesting with compelling actors that were pulling you into their story, there could have been something cool there. There was an almost, it's going too far, but the beginnings of a kind of Mad Max chase sequence sort of thing going on in a couple passages in the film, and the director definitely had the ability to just let you sink into the flow of the scene and just kind of let it run in this really kind of immersive way, and had the story been interesting, those sequences could have been really cool. But this was ChatGPT corporate slop, absolute core. This was an AI generated movie. Basically, this was an AI movie, and one thing that you can say.
Oh, you think it's slop? That's fine, but we live in a world full of hogs,
and that's the problem. That's the problem. Crowbar says, is the Mandela effect good? Fu Man says, yes, it is. Mortal starts off slow, but a good one, too. Fu Man Blue recommending the film Mortal. Crowbar the Skull says, yes, give Tron Ares a 1. That's my savage captain. No mercy, no mercy. Walk the plank. We'll keel haul that movie. You know what? Honestly, I was going to give it a 3, but as I went through that review and I sort of relived parts of it, I was like, what? This is a really stupid movie. This is a dumb movie. And the main character, Eve, is, my God. How can I even describe? She is the, you know what? You know what she actually kind of reminds me of? She reminds me of Kaylee Spaney in Alien Romulus, the default human. The default human, Kaylee Spaney. What do I mean by that? What I mean is she literally looks like the template of the female player character that comes with the game that nobody keeps because they customize their appearance. She's like that default template that's sort of forgettable and basically attractive, but like you would never be able to pick her out of a crowd because she would just blend in. She's the default human. She's just the template human. That's it. And this character, Eve, is like that forgettable, but less attractive than Kaylee Spaney. So she has no charisma, no personality. She's not at all convincing or believable as this heroic character, or even remotely interesting. This was absolute AI-generated DEI casting. This is one of the laziest films I've ever seen. Other than the visual effects, which are sometimes pretty pleasing, and the music, which it's basically a music video. It's a corporate music video. Like, it's not like an edgy or interesting music video. It's not like, old school MTV. No, this is a corporate keynote music video. It's like the music video that you show to your sales agents to get them excited for the annual trip that they can win. That's what it's like. Other than that, there is nothing to recommend this film at all. It's a complete waste of your time. And again,
Oh, you think it's slop. That's fine. But we live in a world full of hogs.
so there you have it. Okay, now, wait, oops, what was that, Crowbar? Redoubt says, you know how Commodore Perry ordered double broadside on the entire British battle line on Lake Erie? Do that to Tron Ares. Tron Ares. It's Morbin Tron. It's Morbin Tron is what it is. Okay, we do have a video. We have a video on the subject. Let me grab that one, Mr. Producer. It's a Dave Cullen review. And these are the kind of thumbnails I was seeing before I went to see the movie, and I was like, uh-oh. Uh-oh. Hey, listen, it's not as bad as watching Snow White. At least it's not torture to watch it. I would rather watch Tron Ares than something like... I still can't believe it. That film was made by a cult, man. That film was made by cult leaders. It's literally the indoctrination video when you join the cult and they're like, before you can reach level 2 in our religion, you have to watch this movie 17 times in a dark room, and you must have no contact with friends, family, or other humans while you watch it. That's basically... Okay, here we go. Hat tip Dave Cullen. Sound roll tape.
Okay, I've seen Tron Ares. Sad to say, I've seen Tron Ares, so you don't have to, dear viewer. Yes, it's one of those movies. Here's my thoughts. This is a poor film. This is a poor film. The issue is that although there's a fair amount going on, the story is uninteresting and the characters feel vacuous, very much so. The film lacks the sense of atmosphere and intensity of Tron Legacy.
The characters, the writing is seriously bad in this movie. All of the characters are like surface level. So actually, this film is actually a great example. This is a great example of what I always talk about. I talk about how actually good characters, like from good movies, have multiple like layers to their personality. They have layers. And honestly, there's no limit to this, but to simplify it, I break it down into 3 layers, okay? This is just my approach as a writer. But really, you can introduce... There's no limit to how much complexity you can introduce in a character if you're a dedicated writer. But this is basically how I break it down. Every character has what's known as the conscious layer. This is what the character actually consciously knows about themselves and the world and that they're aware of. It's things like what they want, what their goal is, who they care about, who they think their friends are. That's the conscious layer. Every character has that. And that's the easy part. That's the easy part. The second layer is the subconscious layer. Only intermediate to advanced to actually talented writers who know what they're doing can convincingly write the subconscious layer. The subconscious layer is what the character is not consciously aware of about themselves. And what's interesting about this is many of the things that they subconsciously think, believe, or want are actually often at odds with what they consciously think that they want. This is where you get real conflict. Like, should I marry her or should I dump her for the for the exciting girl or whatever it is, right? That's your classic like battle of like the conscious and subconscious layer. Now, most serviceable stories are going to have at least that level of depth. But when you have something like a Christopher Nolan film, or you have something like Solo Leveling, or you have something like Breaking Bad, what you have there is the third layer, which is the deep-seated layer. In the deep-seated layer, this is the layer buried underneath the subconscious layer, which is these are primal lizard brain personality traits that the character has absolutely no awareness of at all. Like, they don't even know this is operating within them. These are things like their terrible fear of, disappointing their mother or something like that, or the feeling that they have been wronged in life and they want revenge. And so they will often do crazy or strange things, but it's not really, and they'll say like, why did I do that? Or why am I such a bad person? Or why do I always make this mistake? And these are the things we ask ourselves because we all actually have a deep-seated layer, which is operating without our awareness. And so you have those three layers operating in a complex character. Now, you could really have more sub-layers than that, but that's the basic layout of a complex character. This movie is a perfect example of what you get when you have characters that only have the surface layer. This is what you get. Literally, they have one layer. It's their conscious thoughts. It's what they are supposed to think they want and what they want. And that's what they want. Evan Peters' character is a greedy, ruthless, asshole. That's it. Ares is immediately a rebel program. Eve is a virtuous and completely selfless servant of humanity. So, and that's it. That's just all they are. They don't have any conflicting desires. They don't have any deeper desires. There's nothing deep-seated that's motivating them. It's pathetic.
And there's a lot of other problems. Firstly, and let this be the final time I have to say this, Bruce Boxleitner does not return to play Alan Bradley, Tron. So why even call this a Tron movie in the first place? The film is also lacking any real fun, I have to say. They also get rid of Garrett Hedlund's character of Sam Flynn, explaining in an opening montage that he stepped down as CEO of Encom for personal reasons. No further explanation is given. He's replaced with a strong, diverse female character, however, a girl boss named Eve.
This would be Eve, the character I'm talking about, who is more forgettable and less interesting than Kaylee Spaney, the default human. Folks, the only thing that could make it closer to the ideal girl boss woke character would be if she had a shaved head. That a shaved head and a nose ring, those, or like a septum ring. Those are the only two changes you could make to this character to make her more the perfect, bland, forgettable, totally uninteresting DEI character.
Eve, played by Greta Lee, who's completely uninteresting.
Yes, Crowbar, gender-neutral Asian. That's exactly she is. Listen, in the word, I'm just being constructive here. In the words of Jim Dangle of the Reno Sheriff's Department, she is she's very unfortunate. She's a very unfortunate looking woman. It's very unfortunate.
Dimensional. I had absolutely no interest in her backstory or her relationship with her dead sister. It doesn't generate a single tear.
Did not care. You know what's amazing? This movie is so weird. It's so weird, man. So her side of the story opens with her hiking through some kind of like icy glacier mountain wilderness. And then they show her on she's on a snowmobile. She's driving through like these trees, like she's at the far reaches of the earth, and she's looking for something. She's looking for the permanence code. and she's gonna find it. That's right, because Evan Peters' character is all like worried about it. Eve's ahead of us. She's gonna find the permanence code. Now, when he says that, you're thinking of like a programmer who's like deep in the work of programming at their lab or whatever, and they're like writing lines of code. That's what you're thinking, right? No, they have her literally like traveling to the snowy mountaintops to find the permanence code. And it's what is she doing out there? She finds this tent. She finds this tent way up in the mountains, and it's got like it turns out it's Tess's, the late Tess's old tent. And it has all of her computers. It has like her little microwave where she nuked her hot pockets, and it's got like her little workstation, and it's basically where she was working on the source code. Let me say that again. She had a tent set up in the middle of an Arctic wasteland where she was working on getting the source code from Flynn's old computers. And this is where Eve picks up her work. She just... Why? Why would you need to be in the Arctic wilderness in a tent to data mine an old computer? Why would you need to do that? It's weird, man. It's really weird.
Here at all. I mean, one way in which you know the writing in a film is bad is when the characters are sad about something, but you don't share their emotion.
Fuman Blue says, I don't even know why I'm here. I absolutely despise entertainment today. The last thing I want to do is talk about it for the 6,000th hour. Well, what do you want to talk about, Fuman? I mean, I have some good news, too. This is just my leading story. Well, do you think I enjoy talking about it? I would have enjoyed talking about a great film. I did. I talked about Good Boy last week. Last week, I talked about Good Boy, which was my first review, and it was all positive. It's a great film. I loved it. I've talked about Sinners. I've talked about Weapons. I feel like there's been other good ones lately. I think I at least mentioned Dexter Resurrection. To be fair, I haven't talked much about that one, but that one was really good. Well, my goal is to laugh and have fun about it. But that being said, honestly, you know, I do this show because I want to create something entertaining for you guys. So if you really feel like, hey, I'm tired of this, this isn't interesting, believe me, I'm open to suggestions 100%. So I try to find things that amuse me, because my theory is if it amuses me, I will be amusing to you. So that's what I find this amusing. Don't listen to you, Fu Man Blue. You're a member of the audience, Fu Man Blue. Of course I listen to you. Of course I value your input. This show is for you. So if I listen, you don't realize the things that keep me up at night. The things that keep me up at night, seriously, I'm like, I wake up, actually, it keeps me up at night, but also in the morning, it keeps me laying in bed before I can get out of bed because I'm just thinking about this. And one of the things I'm thinking about is, am I really bringing value with the Captain's Cast? Like, am I delivering something that is nourishing to the intellect? Like, am I doing which maybe is taking it too seriously, I fully admit. But I'm like, I don't just want to sit here and screw around on the internet, although that is fun. I want to actually bring some value. So again, no, don't worry about it. I want to hear this. So anyway, I know you're just joshing. That's how Ed Gein says it in Monster, in the Ed Gein story. Oh my God, that thing is ghastly. But Ed Gein's, I was just joshing. Maybe you're just joshing, and that's fine. But also seriously, I want to hear if like you're like, hey, I want to hear more stories about this or that, and I will take it into consideration.
At all. And you're supposed to. I mean, the writers want you to feel something. They want you to empathize with these characters, but you don't empathize with them. And she has this backstory with her sister who died, and she was very close to her sister. And she's distraught about this and everything, but you don't feel a thing. You know? Because the writers have failed to make you feel anything. Also, I have to say, Greta Lee's performance in the film is completely lifeless and dull. She's one.
It's really impressive. It's it's a complete not, the reviewer said there was a non-plot in the movie. This was a non-performance. This was a character reading lines for 2 hours. This is one of the most, this is how you know it's DEI. That would be diversity, equity, and inclusion, aka woke, liberal wackoism. This is the source of this casting. She has absolutely no talent or charisma or interesting personality whatsoever as an actress, which is totally irrelevant to her casting. The only thing relevant to her casting is that she is a gender-neutral Asian that checks a box. She's not attractive enough for the male gaze to be aroused, but nor is she anything you can't show in daylight. You can show her in daylight, but she's not attractive enough that the male gaze will be titillated. She's not white enough to be offensive to the DEI scorecard. But neither is she like speaking with an Asian accent or anything, so as to seem not part of the Americana culture. She's not a real person. Her performance in this, I mean, she's a lifeless figure. This is why all of our entertainment has turned to absolute slop.
One of the worst protagonists in a film I've ever seen. She plays the role like she's disinterested and bored throughout the entire film. Like I say, there's lip service paid to Sam Flynn and Cora, a few newspaper clippings about them here and there, but not much more than that. There's also a lot of superfluous characters in the film. An unfunny comic relief guy who works alongside Eve. I forget his name. That's how much of an impact he made on me. A CTO of Encom named AJ, played by Hassan Minhaj. I don't know what he added to the film at all, really. I do think Gillian Anderson puts in a good performance as Elizabeth Dillinger because she's a very good actress, but she doesn't have anything to really do. Evan Peters is...
You know what's crazy is Evan Peters is a brilliant actor, and I really like him a lot. He was completely lifeless in this film. He was wasted. Him and Gillian Anderson both completely wasted in this movie. Their lines were so wooden and boring that even their performances weren't very good either. Jared Leto strangely had probably the best of the worst. You know, he was the best of the worst. He had kind of the best performance, but it was, again, he was just playing a lifeless robot. So
quite good as Julian Dillinger, the primary villain. But the story...
Yes, Fu Man. Cabin in the Woods is a great movie. If you've never seen Cabin in the Woods, really brilliant. Very clever. One of the... I think that was a J.J. Abrams... That was one of the J.J. Abrams ones that was actually good, I think, if memory serves.
The story of Eve and her dying sister is uninteresting to me, like I say. Why do I care about these characters? To me, as a fan of Tron and Tron Legacy, these characters feel like interlopers in the series. They have no business being in these films. They have nothing to do with Kevin Flynn's legacy and his family.
So they basically did what Disney always does. They subverted and sidelined the actual characters and actual story, and they put a bunch of DEI hires in the film that nobody asked for and nobody wanted, and they delivered us basically slop. They delivered us straight to streaming slop and put it in the theaters. So it's a complete disaster, a complete disgrace. Hat tip, Dave Cullen. I think it's time to move on to some good news. You're winning. You're winning, my dear sailors and starnuts. Let me grab some music. I need my music, Mr. Producer. Where is it? Yeah, there we go. There it is. Louder, Mr. Producer. All right, first story on deck. It's time. Fu Man Blue is tired of garbage media. Well, let me give you some good news, Fu Man Blue. Are you ready? In fact, before we do that, there's just one other thing we need. I can get my controls to work. Essentially, what we're up to right now is a little bit.
What are you laughing at?
That's right, it's time for a little grave dancing. Okay, canceled. Red Hood series writer says, this is from Bounding Into Comics, the Warner Brothers company demanded of the writer a groveling apology for Charlie Kirk comments. If I can get past the ads. Oh my god, the Bounding Into Comics ads, they've gotten bad, folks. They've gotten real bad. In a moment that stands to test the mettle of even the most ardent of anti-cancel culture advocates, now canceled Red Hood Volume 2 writer Gretchen Faulkner Martin says that while her public mockery of American conservative political pundit Charlie Kirk's recent killing definitely caused questions for the series' future, its abrupt... I lost my place because of that pop-up. Its abrupt axing was truly sealed by her refusal to honor DC parent company Warner Brothers' demand for a groveling apology. Where is my music, Mr. Producer? I gotta fix that. There we go. If I can get the rest of it. That was the tweet. Oh, God. I don't even want to read what she said. What she said about Charlie Kirk. Local comic book stores across the United States, after she celebrated the death of Charlie Kirk, received a message from DC informing them that not only was Jason Todd's latest solo series, written by this woke bitch, was no longer moving forward, that they would also be offering full refunds via credit for their remaining copies and those they'd already sold. And then, when she was interviewed about it, pressed for details... Oh, wait, no, this is the publisher, said at DC Comics released a statement saying this is why they fired her, this is why they canceled the comic. And this is what she said. It was surreal. I got a call from a WB exec at 10:30 p.m. She yelled at me. They did very much want a groveling apology. I told her I wasn't going to apologize for calling a Nazi, and he'd spent his life trying to kill everyone I love, and that I had no regrets. Well, we have no regrets about the total cancellation and failure of her comic book. Would you like some more good news? Let's kill that tab, Mr. Producer. This via Reddit retards on X. And he said, laugh my ass off, cry about it, retards. So this is from Discussing Film. Ubisoft canceled an Assassin's Creed game set in post-Civil War era. It would have featured... Listen to this, chat. Ubisoft was going to make an Assassin's Creed game that featured a black assassin who was formerly a slave. Players would have fought the emerging KKK. Leadership canceled it after concerns with the U.S. political climate and Yasuke backlash. You mean Yasuke? So let me get this straight. When they want to tell a story about an assassin that is about a culture of escaped slaves, they actually cast someone of the ancestry that would have actually been in that role. But when they want to do feudal Japan, they remove the Japanese person and they put a black person in it. Yes, it would be that one. So this is what this means. The fatigue that we're all experiencing. You know, I was explaining this to a recent acquaintance who was talking about the film Get Out, and I was like, yes, I enjoyed the film Get Out, but you know something? I basically don't watch movies anymore that take place in a modern American setting that are about racism. I just don't do it anymore. I'm tired of the guilt trip. I'm tired of the constant narrative over and over and over and over. We've had enough. Now, Sinners takes place, and they're like, well, you like Sinners. I'm like, yes, because Sinners takes place in the 1930s Deep South. That makes sense. That's totally fine. That's a sensible reason to have that in a movie. But to have every single thing we watch in a modern world centered on that, we're tired of it. But here's the important thing to understand. We are winning. They are finally starting to get the message that we don't have an appetite for this stuff. Let me grab this video. Here we go. All right, kill the music, Mr. Producer. There it is. Sound and hat tip Asmongold clips.
Ubisoft canceled an Assassin's Creed game set in the post-Civil War era. Featured a black assassin who was formerly a slave. Players would have fight to stop the emerging KKK. The leadership canceled it after concerns with the U.S. political climate and Yasuke backlash. Like, I loved Django Unchained. I thought it was a great movie. I've watched it probably 15 times. But the problem is that I trust Quentin Tarantino to tell this story. I don't trust Ubisoft to tell this story. It's going to be patronizing, annoying, and also, I think another second-order effect, the amount of people who have used the term, oh, these people are the KKK, these people are Nazis. You're watering down this term, and you're applying it to people that want a better border patrol. And this happened with the Wolfenstein game, too. The repeated weaponization of calling people part of that group, and then people feeling like, wait a minute, if there's a video game that's systematically killing these people, and now everybody's calling me part of these people, isn't that basically them saying to kill me? And it is, by the way. All the terms are cooked. It's no meaning whatsoever. Yeah, exactly. I think they probably made the right decision canceling this game. The people that made Expedition 33, they could probably make something like this good. Ubisoft making a game like this good, I'm just not really seeing it. Here's also a subtext of this as well. A subtext of this is that Assassin's Creed Shadows was a massive failure. If it wasn't, why would they be canceling entire games because of something that is about the backlash of Yasuke? Why? Yeah, exactly, right? Why would that be happening? Massive fucking failure.
Yeah, so there you go. So we are winning, my dear sailors and starnauts. And, you know, Asmongold made a great point there. It's not just that the story would have taken place in that era and revolved around those themes. It's that they would have, the writers and the marketing would have absolutely been trying to tie that story to modern America. That's what they would have been doing, because that's what they always do. They would have tried to draw an allegory to troubling events of today, which is another way of saying they would use the narrative of that story to demonize half of the country that they don't like. And we're tired of it. If they could literally just tell a story that was just about that time and those characters, that was not some kind of thinly veiled allegory for today, that would be one thing. But they can't help themselves. They can't help themselves, and it's never going to happen because Ubisoft pulled it, because we have inflicted defeat after defeat after defeat. And never you doubt it, my dear chat.
We shall defend our island, whatever the cost may be. We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender!
We shall never surrender, and we haven't. Now, time to move on to another story. Another story that is dear to my heart. Fu Man Blue saying, it's sad that these scumbags think, meaning Ubisoft, the only interesting thing about black people is that they were slaves, like the rest of humanity. I know, well, black people are tired of it. They are, because I've heard that from black people. They're like, it would be really nice to have a movie in which the black characters are not slaves or escaped slaves or victims of racism. And it's like, I agree with you. So, as you may know, if you've watched this channel for any long amount of time, and I certainly thank you, however long you've been here. And if you're enjoying the stream, don't forget to put a like on it, because it does help. I am a huge fan of Stranger Things. I think it is, in my opinion, the best thing that Netflix has ever created. So far. We'll see. Honestly, it's pretty much a done deal, because lately Netflix is not what it used to be when it comes to original films and TV. And I'm quite happy with where season 4 left it. But I have concerns. I suppose the only way to say it is, should I say this, Mr. Producer? Does it meet the level of trouble brewing? I don't think it meets the level of trouble brewing yet. But here's the story. Here's what you need to know about this. Per Discussing Film on X, all episodes in the final season of Stranger Things will be over 1 hour. I don't mind that a bit. Between 90 to 120 minutes each. Here's the thing that you got to know. The budget per episode. I can't even believe this. I cannot believe this. $50 to $60 million per episode. $50 to $60 million an episode. And presumably there's, 8 episodes? That's a at least $400 million budget for this final season. That's, even for a show as successful as Stranger Things, I mean, such as it is. I don't honestly know how you even measure the success of a streaming show like this, but I think it's arguable. It's one of their most successful properties. This is the final season. Even at that level, I cannot conceive of how you can justify that expense. I can't conceive of it. Netflix must have so much cash that it would boggle your mind. They must have so much cash they can just burn it and they don't care. Let me pull up the article. This is the article it's from. I'm wondering, is it, it's paywalled. Oh, screw that. All right, forget it. But anyway, it's from a paywalled article. $50 to $60 million an episode. I got to tell you, that makes me kind of nervous. Because I suppose it shouldn't, because on one level, it means they're investing a lot in the success of this final season. But to me, it just, I don't think anything good happens to an artist with a blank check. I just don't. Somehow, I think part of the genesis, part of the wonder of creation depends upon a certain limitation. It depends upon a certain desire to exceed one's limitations, to work within constraints, to be forced to be creative about things you can't do. For example, Braveheart famously lacked it just lacked what it needed in terms of budget and location and so forth to accurately portray the Battle of Stirling. Because the Battle of Stirling with the Scottish versus the English in medieval times, it was on a bridge. And basically the Scottish used the bridge as a bottleneck. And that's how they were able to defeat the much larger and more powerful and better armed English army. So they couldn't portray that in the movie. So director Mel Gibson decided to rewrite the battle so that they were in an open field, and they used stakes. They used poles to surprise the English and defeat their cavalry charge, which preserved the spirit of the battle, but that was not technically what happened. So that's an example of how a limitation forces the artist to be very creative and very intentional about what they're creating. I think the biggest problem with the later Quentin Tarantino movies is he has a blank check. He can make the movies any length he wants. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was bloated and uneven and full of lots of boring passages. And if you just trim that movie down about 45 minutes, I think it would have been one of his best ever. But again, he's a made man. He can do whatever he wants. You have George Lucas when he made the prequels. As much as I like the prequels, I think we can all agree they have their problems. Some of those problems are uneven pacing, not always the best performances, a little bit of CGI bloat, although compared to today, I consider them, handcrafted. But at the time, I remember one of the things people complained about the prequels, the Star Wars prequels, was they were very CGI heavy. Everything felt like a green screen, which is not how the original trilogy felt to people. It felt much more real and lived in. And so that was a major problem with the prequels. One of the reasons that they were like that is because George Lucas loved digital effects and he had unlimited resources to do what he wanted to do. And so he just did whatever he wanted to do and nobody could tell him no. And I think to the extent the prequels have some substandard elements to them, that's why. So when I see Stranger Things has essentially the equivalent of a blank, it's a blank check. What other series can you even think of that has a $60 million an episode budget? A lot of movies don't have that. Movies don't even have $60 million. That tells me that the Duffer Brothers have a blank check to just do whatever they want. And that worries me. It does worry me. So hopefully they are going to be the disciplined, creative, character-driven writers that they've been so far. Check DMs, Swords and Starships. On Discord, is it Discord you're talking about? Let me check. See if I can find it. Video recommendation, Valiant Renegade. We could check this out. Yeah, let me see what we got here. Copy link. Yeah, let me pull this up and we'll take a look. We'll see. Sound is on. When did I report on a movie that only cost $60 million? You're right. Major Hollywood films are always way over $60 million, but I'm talking indie films. Indie films don't have $60 million. Very few. Like if it's not a big budget Hollywood movie, it's $60 million is a tall order. Godzilla Minus One is like a $15 million movie, maybe less. I phrased that poorly. What I was saying is there are films with maybe not major studio backing, but at least art house studio backing that don't even get 60 million. That's basically my point, but I didn't articulate it well. Okay, roll tape.
Stranger Things Season 5 at $500 million, if it even goes that high.
Stop right there. It's just, even if Stranger Things 5 is the most incredible series finale, final season ever, even if it has crazy, obscene amounts of viewership, I have no idea how that is a reasonable ROI. I really don't. And I'm not even saying that in a pedantic way. I'm genuinely curious. I would love to see the business numbers that Netflix uses to justify that. How can they possibly justify that? Where are they making that money back?
Will be cheaper than Disney, Star Wars, Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy's The Acolyte at $250 million. Look at the average runtime of an episode of The Acolyte. It's about 30 to 35 minutes. We did the calculations for The Acolyte. The finished photography of The Acolyte was somewhere around $750,000 per minute of finished.
Wow. Jeez. The Acolyte cost $750,000 per minute. Oh, jeez. And it basically he's saying that Stranger Things, based on the per minute cost, is going to be cheaper than that.
Photography. Seeing this now, I want to preface this by saying that I've been a subscriber to Puck magazine for a few years. Like, as in, I gladly pay the boys and girls at Puck magazine, I think it's like $130 a year now, to get access to their website and their articles, because it is cutting edge inside stuff. So I tried to find the Puck article, because I hate Screen Rant, but this is the most visually simple thing to use for this. But Screen Rant, what I want to say is this is not a source from Screen Rant, is my point. Because Screen Rant is poo. Screen Rant is citing Puck, and I tried to find the damn Puck article today.
Yes, Fu Man. Think about that, my dear sailors and star nuts. The Acolyte costs $750,000 per minute of screen time. That's unbelievable. And it was their Waterloo. I have to tell you, I think there were two projects in particular for Disney that turned out to be a kind of cultural and business watershed moment, a kind of Waterloo, right? A moment of true cataclysmic defeat. And that would be the Marvels, which turned out to be the most laughed at and embarrassing financial failure of the Marvel canon. Like, it was as bad a disaster in every way possible as anything. Hell, The Marvels is the movie that coined the meme I'm fond of repeating on this channel, which is that these are really stupid people that make this crap, and they eat glue. And that was the movie. That was the movie where it's like, these are dumb people that are writing this. It's, But then The Acolyte came out. And it was culturally, it was even worse. You know why? Because up until that point, people were ragging on Book of Boba Fett. People were ragging on Mandalorian Season 3. People were ragging on Obi-Wan Kenobi. And the shills were out there defending it. And there was a kind of fault line in the Star Wars fan. There was a lot of the middle, a lot of the normies and the blue pills, the guys like Star Wars Theory. They were still cheering for Star Wars to be good. They were still kind of making mitigating arguments. They were saying things like, well, let's just see it before we critique it. And yeah, after The Acolyte, there was no hiding it. At that point, the entire narrative completely shifted against Disney. And the only people defending Disney Star Wars after that were the shills. Those are the only people.
Okay. I'm sure it's there somewhere, but they didn't have a link directly to that article. And I can't find the one that they pulled this from. And like, I'm looking at all the recent stuff. I'm like, where did this come from? Fine. They say it came from Puck. Then I believe it. Because if Puck is reporting this, then you can take it to about the money that Disney spends on their stuff. You're going to trash Netflix for Stranger Things, right? Nope. Listen to me. Let me explain, because this is how we get everybody in this audience, one of the smartest audiences on YouTube, bar none. This is how we get this audience even smarter, okay? Check this out. The budget for Stranger Things Season 5 has reportedly been revealed. The fifth and final season of Netflix's sci-fi ratings juggernaut is set to drop its first volume on streaming platform November 26th. Okay, so it is late this year. And we'll see the group prepare for one final battle against Vecna. Stranger Things has been acclaimed as one of the greatest TV series of all times. Blah, blah, blah. I don't care. According to Puck, here we go. That's the paragraph I was looking for. According to Puck.
And just for the record, Fu Man Blue, I love Stranger Things. I'm talking about something I enjoy and love, and I think, hopefully, will be good.
Magazine, Netflix spent 50 to 60 million dollars per episode for the show's final season, Season 5. Putting its total price tag in the range of 400 to 480 million. Are they as wild as we think they are? At first glance, you tell me that you're going to have 8 episodes of a TV show that's going to cost, let's get retarded with this and say it's $500 million. Let's say it's a cool $500 million, right? Okay. Tell me more. What do we know about Stranger Things? Stranger Things is one of the biggest television shows on Earth. That's number one. I mean, even when you look at the more recent, even bigger shows, bigger hits that Netflix has had, like Wednesday, Stranger Things cumulatively is still massive. When you put season 1 through 4 together, it's still basically the biggest thing on Netflix, bar none, historically. It is a member engagement driver.
Now, that's an interesting point. Okay, this is where his perspective is pretty valuable, because he's basically saying it is a driver, like it's a major subscription driver still. So if that's the case, then that could help to explain why they're investing so much in this.
Massive, right? And Stranger Things has now been on Netflix for, 7 years at least? Somewhere around that. I mean, Stranger Things is one of the shows that made Netflix what it is.
100%.
And you got to start...
I would say Stranger Things and House of Cards. Those are kind of the two big ones. Those are the two big ones that made... that aside from... See, in the era when they released House of Cards and Stranger Things, what was really driving Netflix subscriptions, this is what it was. It was Star Trek, because they had all the Star Trek TV series on Netflix. Friends, Seinfeld. I can't remember if Everybody Loves Raymond was on it, but definitely Friends was a big one. So all of those old shows, but especially Friends and Star Trek, those were basically the two things that made Netflix a juggernaut. But of their original content, it was 100% House of Cards and Stranger Things.
Thinking to yourself for a minute, when you have those...
To be totally fair, House of Cards basically launched the Prestige TV streaming series. As we know it, the Prestige TV streaming series, as we know it, what that model was created by House of Cards. In fact, House of Cards is the show that created the binge model of TV. because it was the first show ever that was new original content where they released all the shows at once.
Lead actors on the show, like David Harbour and Winona Ryder and the original 4 boys, and then all the other teenager, group they brought in since then, and blah, 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 blah. Hey, money gets high. Hang on to that thought. Because what I'm going to show you in a minute is a significant portion of this budget is to pay the cast, because the show has gotten so big. All right?
Interesting. You know what? I was even saying in the last season, they let too many of the cast live. They really did. They really should start paring down that cast a little, thinning out the herd. You know what I'm saying?
But let's say a cool $500 million, just to get crazy with it. Okay? $500 million. 8 episodes. Hold on to that thought. Because that sounds nuts. It really does sound nuts. $60 million per episode. How do we get there? Well, we know Stranger Things is a very, very post-production VFX, CGI, dependent, heavily laden type show. There is an enormous amount of special effects and VFX, CGI that goes in to the finality of what we see on screen when they release. And it's accelerated dramatically over the years. They've had to, you go season to season, you have to keep upping the ante. You have to get audiences to keep coming back. You have to keep getting bigger and bigger. Now, as long as you have an audience that is at scale, that is big enough to justify the expense, then there's no issue, right? But then there's another element. And here it comes. Valiant, you said you were gonna talk about the Acolyte here.
You're killing me, Valiant. Come on,
we're gonna talk about the
You're
Acolyte.
beating around the bush.
Because that was a
I don't know
show
if I could take...
probably more than any other show.
I like Valiant a lot, but man, he's really he's dragging this out a little.
That I dogged. And I mean, we all dogged.
Okay, all right. Yep.
Checking out thatparkplace.com every day for the news. To where the production budget is settling out for the Acolyte exactly as I projected years ago, at $250 million. $250 million. The Acolyte, get ready for it. Here we go. I'm going to go full screen for this one. You ready? Stranger Things, even if it does wind up being as high, and we will probably never know, even if it does wind up being as high as $500 million for its 8-episode final season 5, is still cheaper than the Acolyte at $250 million. Valiant, you've gone I'll repeat it. Apparently confirmed since then. I'll show you. Stranger Things season 5 at $500 million, if it even goes that high, then Disney, Star Wars, Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy's, Leslie Headland, The Acolyte at $250 million. Would you like me to explain, Chad? Have y'all watched Stranger Things? Do you know how long those episodes are? And I see people in the chat. That's why I say I have the most intelligent audience. Acolyte. When it came out, when we started getting the numbers in. And we were talking about the finished production.
This must be a clip from his live stream, because holy crap, he's dragging this out so long. So no, I'm not going to finish it, but his basic point is the per minute cost of the Acolyte is less than the per minute, is more than the per minute cost of Stranger Things, which makes a lot of sense. So hat tip, Valiant Renegade. We got more good news for you, chat. We got more good news. Which one should we share? I don't know if I'll do this full video, but Marvel Studios has just done a mass firing. They have fired a bunch of people. So remember, we were talking about Tron Ares and what garbage it is and how we're sick of this garbage all the time. Well, this is the good news. The good news is that it's getting less and less tenable for these companies to keep putting out garbage. You know, it's taken a lot of years of us harping on this and calling it out and voting with our wallets. But little by little, chipping away, we are finally starting to take a chunk out of these bastards. These companies, so you have Ubisoft, which has just canned their harebrained idea to have an Assassin's Creed game about fighting the Klan. And now you have Marvel with mass firings. You have Warner Brothers, which demanded a groveling apology of the woke wacko who celebrated Charlie Kirk's assassination and cancels her comic, by the way, and refunded all of the comic book shops. So is the ship going to completely reverse course overnight? No. But I want you to understand, we are making a cultural impact. Why? It has not been pleasant to watch all of the intellectual properties we grew up with as kids just rotted by the fetid modern entertainment environment. But the good news is we are starting to hold their feet to the fire, and it's making a difference. Hat tip, Yellow Flash. Check sound, Mr. Producer, check sound. Thank you.
Did you know that Marvel put out a new show called Eyes of Wakanda? I didn't even know this was out. The only thing I see people talking about is Marvel Zombies, which I've watched half of Marvel Zombies. It's actually not a terrible show. Some things I like about it. I haven't finished it yet, though. I still have 2 more episodes left, so maybe it gets worse. I didn't think it was terrible. Not a fan of Miss Marvel, though, really, who is the main
That's a great point, Fu Man Blue. You remember when mass firings in government and entertainment was just a pipe dream? Well, guess what? The pipe dream has come true.
All for that show, but whatever.
Thanks, Fu Man. Appreciate it.
Eyes of Wakanda, though, nobody's talking about this, and maybe that's for good reason. Because when you head over to Rotten Tomatoes, just to see, what people are saying about it, 52% audience score. That is low. And if you want to see something really funny, look at the critics. 92% for all critics. If you just go to top critics, the best of the best in Rotten Tomatoes minds, 100%.
Shells.
Right here, this
Shells.
is the metric right here. If the audience score is really bad, but the critic score is really high, that means the show is shit.
Trash.
I'm just going to take a wild guess here. Just a wild guess. But I'm going to say the show is probably praised because it's a Black Panther thing. It's all people of color, barely any white people in it, something like that. So, of course, it's revolutionary, one of the greatest things ever made. Got to get those stinky old white people out because, in mainstream media's mind, they should never have any form of show or movie or video game ever again. But I haven't watched the show. I don't know if it's good or not. Not really jumping to watch it either. Here's the thing, though. I don't think anybody will be jumping to watch anything from the studio that made this because apparently they're shutting down due to lack of work and funding.
Really?
That's interesting. I decided to take a look and see what this studio has made in the past. And here's one. Here's their LinkedIn. And this comes from the company themselves. Hello. We are the Axis Studios, a multi-award-winning animation and visual effects studio specializing in diversity. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. That is
wow. They can't even get past the first sentence. We are Axis Studios, a multi-award-winning animation and VFX studios specializing in diversity. Not animation and storytelling. That's what you specialize in. Not animation. Not storytelling. Diversity. Which, and do you know what diversity is? Diversity is when we replace Viking and English kings with black people, and we replace samurais in feudal Japan with black people, and we replace Native Americans' ancestors with black people, and then we tell a story about Wakanda, which is all black people. That's the diversity. That's the diversity. We specialize in making everything black people. Everything's black people now. Because they're good. They're so good. They're so wonderful. They're so peaceful and noble. They've had it so bad, so very, very bad. And it's not they can't help it. They can't help that they're victims. They're just victims. I feel sorry for them. I feel sorry for them. That's why they deserve to be in everything. Because it'll make them feel better about how bad they have it and how much they can't do. They just don't have the ability to make anything of themselves in a white-dominated world. It's not possible for them. They're doomed to live a life of sadness and poverty and oppression. And we feel so bad for them. So we're going to make believe that they're superheroes and English kings and samurais. And that's what's known as diversity. Diversity.
Is what they hanged their hat on, and now they're out of business. Maybe you should have just focused on specializing in good animation. I don't know.
I know. Leftists are so fucking stupid. They're such fucking retards. I'm sorry. I know that's crass of me to say something so gauche, which is another way of saying crass, which is ultimately redundant. They don't have any interesting ideas. They don't say anything new or interesting ever. It's always diversity, equity, inclusion, racism, Nazis. They have 5 words that they circulate on a loop. Everything that they write, everything they create, everything they propose, it's always about those same 5 things. Racism, diversity, equity, Nazism. It's like they're so boring. They're so unbelievably boring. Every single social media page they make, we specialize. It doesn't matter what it is. They could have a tech company. They could have a software company. They could have an animation studio. They could be writing books, publishing books. It could be a coffee company. It doesn't matter what it is. It's going to be the same exact profile. We specialize in diversity and sustainable practices.
And to be fair, this animation isn't. I've seen far worse. I'm a little tired of the computer animated shit, though. Can you do a hand drawing style again? Can we get hand animation back? Oh, this guy here says it's the greatest thing ever. Oh, it just did the craziest MCU retcon, so now it's required show. Don't think you'll be seeing the season 2, though, as they're shutting down. Here are some things they've done. Eyes of Wakanda being the biggest thing. Scrooge, A Christmas Carol by Netflix. Love, Death, and Robots from Netflix. The Halo series from Microsoft. The Gears of War 5 and Outriders game trailers. Borderlands movie visual effects. Lost in Oz series, Amazon Prime. They came into existence back in 2000. And they're done. That's a wrap for Axis Studios. A report from Caroline Reed at Forbes reveals the reason for the shutdown was a combination of the shutdowns due to the fear of COVID-19, the multiple strikes in Hollywood, and soaring inflation. Okay, these are pretty reasonable explanations. Hollywood is just going down. So this is a newer studio, right? 2000 is when it came into existence. Compared to, it's not that old. Hollywood is shrinking. Hollywood has been shrinking for a couple of years now, and do we really need a studio that specializes in diversity? An internal document detailed the industry experienced a downturn in production commissions post-pandemic, particularly in the video game sector, which compromised the majority of the company's client base. The company was also impacted by the U.S. writer's strike, which took place from May to September 2023, and the related actor strike, which ran until November 2023. These significantly pushed out production schedules. Allied to this, significant cost price inflation, particularly in respect of employee costs, further eroded margins and overall profitability.
So let's just bottom line this. Hat tip yellow flash. Here's basically what we're seeing. This is real-time evidence that Hollywood, their old model, is imploding. In many cases, including with Tron Ares, they are doubling down and doing the same things they always do, and guess what's happening? They are losing. They are losing. I got more for you. We have even more. But first, the captain needs a short break, so I will be right back. And we are back here on the Captain's Cast on a Saturday night on the Swords and Starships channel. And we have more good news to celebrate, my dear chat. This is, I have really come to enjoy this channel. It's called Hero High. And I highly recommend a subscribe. He's got a great... Is this the one I want? Oh, no, that's the... No, that's the wrong one, Mr. Producer. I need the original video. There it is. I got it. Let me just give you the title of this video, okay? The Concord Devs have returned, and they're not happy. I just love laughing at these losers. It's so much fun. Sound Roll tape.
Hey guys, hope you've been having a great weekend. And you remember Concord, right? One of the biggest failures in gaming history. Yeah, that Concord. Well, the devs recently spoke out about what happened and stuff like the beta, the public reception. That's going to be fun to take a look at. The aftermath. And as you might expect, they are still as out of touch as ever. A lot of them are trying to blame gamers and
just the images of this game are unbelievable.
And
what is this? What is on her head? Who thought that a Tupperware container was a great idea for a helmet? I can never believe how bad this game looks every time I see it.
as you might expect, they are still as out of touch as ever. A lot of them are trying to blame gamers and saying things like, people just didn't give us a chance. And so these statements come from devs that were on the Time Well Wasted podcast, I think it's called, where they had some of these devs on. Of course, they spoke about this stuff. So now we've got some quotes that have been compiled over on Reset Era, and I also got some quotes from the YouTube channel Mystic. So let's start with this quote, where one of the devs says, "The audience our publisher was catering to did not want this game at all from the get-go. The game was labeled as uncool." And then they lament how people just didn't give the game a chance, saying stuff like, yeah, but you haven't even looked into it. You haven't even played it. It's like, yeah, well, like, why would anyone want to play this modern audience garbage? Seems like they're also trying to put all or a lot of the blame on the publisher. And I just don't buy that, because they say, like, the publisher forced us to make a game catering to this group of people, which seems to be implied to be about the modern audience, because the game itself was clearly catering to the modern audience. And the reason I don't fully buy that this was like only the publisher is because we've already seen that a number of the devs that worked on Concord from Firewalk Studios, the game dev company, well, a lot of these devs were a part of the modern audience, or I should say are a part of the modern audience. So they probably loved Concord, but now they're enacting this damage control like a year later because they don't want this like blank spot on their resume or whatever. Like, let's try and kind of rewrite history, try to save some face here. We can see more of that in this quote where one of the devs says, "I mean, it's certainly unpleasant. It was incredibly frustrating that we didn't do any counter-programming. You know, that started immediately after the reveal of the game, and then it was just total radio silence. So a lot of false narratives around the game got built, and it was outside of our control."
I love how the mindset of these developers is always that we have to control what people think about what we created. Everything is about narratives and appearances and optics. And what's fascinating about this to me is the sense of entitlement. I've said this before. I've said that there's this mindset that is very pervasive in Hollywood and in the AAA gaming studio lately. And it goes something like this. The purpose of having a job creating a video game is so that I get to be paid to create a video game. So these developers think that the purpose of them creating Concord and people buying Concord is so that they will be paid money to make Concord, not so that they make a game people want to buy. That's totally irrelevant. What they want is to create the game they want to make and be paid to do that. And that is the purpose of their art. And so when people are like, well, we think it looks stupid and we're not going to buy it, they say, why are you being so mean? Why are you being mean to us? We need to tell you, you just don't understand. And it's like you have these writers who think that they are entitled to have people pay money to see their movie or watch their show or whatever it is. And it's like no artist, absolutely no musician, no artist, no writer, no painter, no poet, no one is entitled to that. Absolutely no one is entitled to have an audience. And so you get really let's just say mediocre to just dumb people or untalented people who don't know what they're doing, and DEI has allowed them to have a job they should not have, and their delusional politics has convinced them that all they have to do is be on the right side of all of the progressive virtue values, and they will be loved and adored and make tons of money. And in this delusional state, they believe that they can do anything they want and that they deserve to be compensated no matter what. It's a crazy, insane, inverted paradigm. Superscope. Supercope. Sorry, I misread that. Crowbar of the Skull. Supercope. Exactly. It's Supercope. Well, it's not even just cope. It's not even just cope. I mean, you know, I remember when I first said years ago when I was a teenager, I want to like learn how to write and publish novels. And I remember when I was first listening to other authors talk about the pros and cons of self-publishing versus pursuing a publisher, and they would just talk about the process of getting published. You know, the traditional path, the legacy publishing path for an author, it has been the same since books were written, basically, which is you have to write thousands and thousands and thousands of words that will probably never see the light of day until you get good at it. And then when you get good at it, you need to write thousands and thousands of letters to publishers and to agents and get constant. Almost every mainstream author has had so many rejections, they have a collection. They have a collection of rejections. The same is true of actors. Actors who, you know, Jim Carrey, famously, he spent years trying to make it as an actor, and he was rejected over and over and over again, and he wrote himself a check to himself that said, you know, to Jim Carrey, $1 million for acting services rendered. And that was his inspiration, was to look at that check and say, someday I'm going to get, I think it was $11 million actually. He said $11 million. He said, one day I'm going to have this check for real. And it took rejection upon rejection upon rejection. And so this is the reality of any artist who wants to make it anywhere, is you need to be prepared to endure massive rejection. And if you get past that and you become successful, you have made it into an extraordinarily rarefied air. What boggles my mind is these DEI wackos have no concept of this. They think that success is their due because they're there breathing oxygen. It's pathetic. Seriously, it's pathetic.
False narratives, really? No, dude. People talked about the factual stuff that was going on in Concord. No one needed to like make up a false narrative. The game was awful for a lot of reasons that have been greatly discussed. Here's what they say about the beta. We were excited locally.
I mean, just imagine this. Okay, let's just go this way. Okay, here it is. On me for a second, Mr. Producer. This is my novel, Blood and Oak. There it is. This is my second book, Blood and Oak, about in the early 1800s, U.S. Navy, a young midshipman embarks on a suicidal quest for rescue and revenge to save his family from the Barbary pirates. Now, if you looked at my cover and you said, Captain, that doesn't look interesting to me. And I said, well, no, that's not fair. You see, that's a false narrative. I need to give you some counter programming. You see, you haven't allowed me to have my say. That's not valid. You can't judge my book by its cover. Well, you see, the whole reason that I commissioned Pablo Fernandez, my cover artist, the reason I commissioned him for this cover is because he's a incredibly dazzling artist. He's extremely excellent. And I worked very hard with him on getting that cover exactly right. Why? Because if the cover doesn't sell you on the story, who's going to read it? So this idea that people see screenshots of your game and they're like not interested, the idea that that's invalid is the most ass-backwards concept in all of artistic creation. Of course you judge a book by your cover. Every publisher knows that. Why do you think publishers spend multi-millions of dollars with cover designs? For that exact reason. Let me tell you something. Designing a cover is a science down to genre. Like, for example, if you are going to do a spy thriller, there should always be a prominent character in the middle, and there should always be some kind of structure around them. The character should be roughly centered in the middle of the frame. Like that, it's a whole thing. And these wackos have deluded themselves into thinking that people cannot judge their video game by a screenshot. Oh, yes, they can. Because it is the right of the audience to have any opinion that they wish to have. My entire goal is to hopefully sell you on at least reading a page or two based on that cover. That is my goal. I hope I can achieve that. But if I can't, it doesn't mean that the reaction of the person seeing the cover and not finding themselves interested, it doesn't mean that that's invalid. Redoubt Production says, Garrett is waving his book. Seems like a good time to mention I am Team Melisande all the way, though I understand why John's heart is in the place that it is. Ah! Oh, interesting. You picked up on that, did you? You think John should end up with Melisande? I have a little bit of a subtle love triangle going on between the Dufour sisters and my main character, John Sullivan. Yeah. The Dufour sisters both kind of have a crush on him. You know, what can I say? Anyway, both covers are sweet. Is that? Well, thank you, Fu Man Blue. I appreciate that. I really do. And I love your notes in Discord about what you're thinking about the book. It's great. It's fantastic. You know, it's interesting thing is, why do I write? I write because these are movies I want to see, so to speak. These are books I want to read. I want to see a book about this, so I write a book about it. That's basically, it's as simple as that. So I'm a member of the audience, but I also I want to be a part of the audience in a strange way. So if that makes any sense. Only one female character that matters. Katie is the bomb. Yep, enough said. Enough said. But I am just so excited. You know what? I'm excited for you to read Wolves Will Eat, but now that you're reading it, I don't want you to go too fast because then it's over. You know, it's like you get to the end, I feel strongly that Wolves Will Eat it gets to be a page turner. It gets to be a real page turner. I would hope. Okay, roll tape, Mr. Producer.
In the studio, but the public had no idea what it was at first. I thought people were just harsh during the reveal trailer. I was like, you know what? There's things we need to work on, but it's okay. Once people touch the game, it's going to change things. And then the beta numbers dropped, and numbers were not what we were expecting. And I think our mindset started shifting to things could go really bad. Dude, if I recall, the beta had a peak player count around 1,400? I think. I'm going off memory. I'm going to check that. Okay, so it was actually 2,388, almost 2,400, which is obviously still beyond terrible. The devs continue talking about the beta, saying it made news for how poorly the beta did. Like, people would go out to news sites to...
And if you're just tuning in, we're talking about Concord. The Concord devs... Why does, I think it was Asmongold said, why does Concord keep resurfacing in the why does this turd keep floating back? Concord is the turd that just won't flush. I know I shouldn't laugh at my own jokes, but that's funny. I think that's funny. It's the turd that just won't flush. That's Concord for you. You know what? They are such crybabies. You know what they want? They want an award. They want someone to tell them it's okay that you failed. It's okay that you made a garbage video game that you thought was one. You know, the saddest thing about woke creatives that would be far left progressive wackos. What do you mean by woke? Well, that's what I mean. Far left wackos. Crazies. Insane. Got a screw loose. Not the sharpest knife in the drawer. Unless you get them near a Catholic school. I mean, they misunderstand the first rule of all artistic creation. Everybody who sets out to create anything thinks that it's the best thing ever because it's theirs. It's their baby. Everybody feels this way. And let me tell you something. The jump from being a amateur or a hobbyist to a professional is the jump to learning how freaking wrong about that you are. I'm going to tell you something. There's a chapter, which I will not describe at all, but there is a chapter that made it to the cutting room floor in Wolves Will Eat. And I remember that when my editor, yes, I hired an editor to read my novel and critique it. And I paid her a pretty penny, too. And she came back with feedback on one of my chapters, and it was it was bad. I was so proud of this chapter. I thought it was one of the best things I'd ever written. I really did. I was like, this is one of the best passages. This was poetry. Garrett, you outdid yourself, sir. This is it. It came together just as I imagined it. My editor reads this. And by the way, she loves my work. She's like, you write really well. And she has a lot of great things to say. But when it's not right, she tells me. And so she told me, this reads like bad Harlequin romance. And I remember writing back to her, because the way our dialogue would work is she'd send me her critique. If I had any questions or comments about it, I would send them back to her. Like I said, okay, well, can you clarify what you mean? What do you think I should do? What's not working? And so I sent back, and usually I have a detailed kind of question. For that particular critique, I just sent back to her in the email. I said, ouch. And she replied back, indeed. It was like savage, man. Savage. She was like, that's terrible. She didn't say that's terrible. She said it read like Harlequin romance and blah, blah. And I knew what she meant. And I was like, yikes. And so I cut it. I cut the chapter. Mind you, when I wrote it, I thought it was the most genius thing I'd ever written. Now, the crazy thing about it is, things that I struggled to write that I felt really not great about, but I was like, I have to write this passage. It's got to go in there. I'll make it as good as I can, but it's never going to be perfect. I'll just have to live with it. Those are the passages that people tell me are brilliant, and they're like, "Wow, that's incredible! I can't believe wow, the Fu Man Blue dropped one in the chat." I'm a little bit too embarrassed. He likes in the chat. He's got one of the lines my character said, which I got to tell you, I don't even know how I came up with a line that cool, Fu Man. I really don't. I don't even know how I wrote it. Like I said, I have a strong belief that part of artistic creation comes from somewhere other than ourselves. I really do believe that. But that flow state, man, it's one of the best things ever. But anyway, that's how it is with art. You don't know exactly what's going to be well received and what isn't. And if you don't have a certain level of humility, if you're not open to real critique, you are going to fail badly. Badly. Part of becoming a professional artist is learning, quite seriously, that you are always a little bit delusional about yourself. Always. This goes for every artist out there. This goes for George R. R. Martin. This goes for Quentin Tarantino. This goes for Christopher Nolan. This goes for J.K. Rowling. All of them. They all have editors. They all have people looking at their work and critiquing it. And if they're not listening, I guarantee you their work's going to be going downhill. That's just the nature of the beast, folks. What is fascinating about the woke mind virus is that it has created a culture of zero accountability. These are people who are right about everything. They are essentially gospel fundamentalists of their crazy psychopathic progressive woke cult. And they do not have to listen to any critique, because any critique that they receive is from a MAGA Nazi, and is therefore, or a bigot, or a white supremacist, or a TERF, or some other buzzword that demonizes and dehumanizes anyone that disagrees with them on literally anything. That is a recipe for total delusion and total failure. This is why the Concord disaster is such a fascinating situation. This is why they can't get over it. Because they're delusional, insane wackos. They suffer. They suffer, folks. My heart breaks for them. Not really. Roll tape.
like hear about our game and how negatively it was doing instead of like hearing what the game was about. People heard about our game because of how poorly it did, but people didn't hear about what the game was or even really tried. There was no shortage of
So pathetic. What a pathetic loser.
news articles and YouTube videos and hate on the internet about how poor the numbers were, so it was pretty apparent. You got to be kidding me.
We got hate about how few people were playing our game, and they were mean. They were saying that was bad, that the numbers were poor because the numbers were poor. They were stating what was true.
They're really trying to say that people didn't really know what the game was. Yeah, we did. What the frick? Dude, the cope is just crazy. From there, they talk about the reception. The most frustrating part about it to me was people had made up their mind about the game, and I felt like it was based off, I mean, this is more our fault than theirs, but we did a bad job of communicating what we were trying to do, and I felt like there was such a disconnect. Like, if I could sit down with any individual that said something bad about the game and plead our case, I could convince them 100% to be on board with the game. It's just, we did a terrible job of appealing to the mass of gamers, and it didn't go too well.
This is Concord, Redoubt. We're talking about Concord, the failed. So it was like it was basically a woke Overwatch, remember? And it had like all these, these sort of fat, weird-looking characters, and the shaved head girl with the blue hair and the Tupperware container as a helmet, and it was a total disaster. That's what we're talking about. And the developers months after the total failure are still bitching about it.
I guess I'll give this statement a little bit of credit for having like a tiny shred of accountability, at least compared to the other stuff that these devs were saying. But this is still very delusional, because Bro is really trying to make it sound like the only issue with Concord was the communication. Like, we just didn't explain this well enough. No, dude, there were a lot of problems with the game, as I mentioned a moment ago. I'm just not going to list all the problems with the game because, like, we've covered that extensively, and so many people have done a great job covering that extensively already and talking about that stuff, so it seems far too redundant to just repeat all of that here. I'm sure everyone watching this video probably knows the numerous issues with Concord, so let's just keep going to the next statement, and this one returns to the very whiny style that we've been seeing. It's just weird that there is this audience who's just constantly wanting to be excited that something fails. But the reality behind it is, we're just looking at our keyboards and then we're like, oh, no job today. There's like a schadenfreude of, I don't think I said that right, whatever. Oh, big game fails. And that's awesome.
It's pronounced schadenfreude, huh?
We got to see something crash and burn. And that's kind of great. That's really cool. And to be
Yeah. Watching garbage, trash, fail. Yes, it's pleasurable for me. It's very pleasurable. Watching entitled assholes who think that they are above all criticism and deserve to be appreciated because of whatever wacko identity they have. Oh, because they're neurodivergent or some bullshit. Watching their stupid finger painting fail is pleasurable for the average consumer, because what else are we supposed to do? Literally, there are millions and millions of dollars that are in the hands primarily of stupid, untalented people who make trash that nobody wants. I don't think these wackos understand how frustrating that is for us, because there are thousands upon thousands, millions of aspiring creatives out there with good ideas and bold visions who would like the chance to make something good that we, by the way, want. But their seat at the table is being taken up by, Mr. Producer, I have to be careful here. Let's just say body positive, diverse people who own a lot of cats. And they think that a shaved head androgynous lesbian is what every dude wants to play as on a space adventure with his top surgery scars and body type B. So yes, watching those entitled assholes who do not deserve the position they're in fail is what they deserve. Watching bad or untalented people or arrogant people get what they deserve is fun. It's fun for other humans.
But what about kindness? What about kindness and empathy? Oh, Charlie Kirk got shot. Oh, that's great. What about kindness and empathy?
These shills make me sick.
Part of that process, it's really easy to bandwagon on that. Like, well, we're punching up and not really take into consideration that, like, well, you're punching up at that.
I'm just kidding. We're down. I love cats. You said I live with 3 cats, and if we insult those cats, they may tear away the rest of the keys to my keyboard. I know. Nothing against cats. I love cats. In fact, I was watching an Asmongold video. It was about the Hassan thing where he shocked his dog. He 100% shocked that dog. And Asmongold was saying, well, to be fair to Hassan, I don't know much about dogs or dog training because I've only ever had cats, and I don't really, and training cats is different. And his chat was so hilarious because his chat was like, you don't train cats. Cats train you. Cats laugh at your human commands. And I was like, it's so true. Cats do what the fuck they want. They don't care. I think cats domesticated us. I don't think it's the other way around. I think we domesticated cats. I think cats were like, that species can stay. That's basically how it worked out.
But then all these people that work really hard on it are not those people. Well, just because people worked on the game.
What's that? I actually do have to get a different version of this because I get hit every time I run it. But you're right, Crowbar the Skull. All hail. That's like one of the best clips of all time. Darth Cat. Darth Cat inspecting his storm huskies. Or whatever they were. The chows, maybe.
Obviously. Doesn't mean that they're free from criticism. Like, if you make a bad product, people are allowed to talk about that. And that doesn't mean they're limited to only talking about the product itself. People are allowed to talk about the team that developed said product and ways that they could have done better and things that they did wrong. Here's what the devs have to say about working at Firewalk. I know I felt like I would run into battle and die for the company that day. I was...
Do you see what I mean? Do you see how we have transitioned to a culture, and this is primarily on the progressive side of things. These activists, these woke activists, they have transitioned into a culture where they look at companies, so long as those companies are virtue signaling the things that need to be virtue signaled, they look at them as the moral compass of society, as the moral guides of society. Not like a priest or a village elder or the head of a family, like a matriarch or a patriarch of a family. No, those are not the guiding, not like a wise philosopher or teacher or spiritual mentor. No, those are not the guiding lights of society. No, the company. The company is the guiding. And this is what Tron Ares made me think of.
Ecstatic when the teaser was revealed. I miss it immensely. All this interviewing and talking to other companies, I want to bring my whole old team there. They always ask me, why did I like
Storm Chow? Did I say Storm Chow? I probably did.
Working at the studio so much. And it was like, I really just enjoyed the team, the people. That's what I miss. People were kind to each other. If someone had a bad day, people
were kind to each other. Do you know what that means? Can I translate that for you? This is the devs. People were kind to each other. It meant we told each other what we wanted to hear. That's really when woke wackos are talking about kindness, they don't mean actual kindness. What they mean is nobody is telling me anything I don't want to hear. Everyone is telling me exactly what I want to hear and affirming whatever delusions I want affirmed. That's what that means. That's kindness to them. Kindness to them is lies. lies. Do I still have this clip, Mr. Producer? Do I have this clip? I don't think I do. It might be in my video share folder. I was doing this Hassan video, but I will play the rest of this Hassan video now that we're deeper into the stream. But it's a parody of all the terrible things he says, and I was starting to get nervous. But I don't think I have it anymore. It was the clip. It was the clip from Chernobyl about the cost of lies. That was the thing. Anyway, forget it. Roll tape, Mr. Producer.
Be super supportive and be like, go ahead, take the time. If you're not feeling good, just go home. This is the first studio where I felt equal and treated right. Not only is everyone super talented, but also everyone was respectful and nice. It's a green flag when I can go into the women's bathroom and it's not only filled with feminine hygiene products, but also there's women there. And it's like, oh, I have to share a bathroom with other women now? Like, whoa, that's odd because you usually get the whole place to yourself. You know, what's really funny is how shortly...
I have a question. I have a very serious question. And I've been wondering this for years now. Years I've been wondering this. Can someone explain this to me? Seriously, can someone explain this to me? What is it with the leftist obsession with bathrooms? Why are they obsessed with this? They have the strangest constant obsession with bathrooms. Who gets to go in them? What genders they are? When they get to go in them? At what theme parks? Whether they're gender neutral or gender blended? Whether they have feminine hygiene products in the dispensers, and whether those dispensers are in both gender bathrooms or just the one. Obsessed. Obsessed with it.
After Concord released and we were in the news cycle of its massive failure, there were some people coming out saying that the Concord devs, Firewalk overall, that they have this culture of toxic positivity. Some sources I've spoken with blamed a head in the sand mentality carried over from the studio's Bungie roots, a sense the game would come together because the team was too good to fail. It seems like we're seeing more of that attitude displayed in the statement that we just read. We've got one last statement to take a look at here, and it's pretty funny. Something else funny, too, is how the user on Reset Era that posted these quotes went on to say about all of this. From all public accounts, it sounds like Firewalk was an incredible studio to work at.
Okay, stop the tape. This is a perfect this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. These devs, who are failures, by the way, they created a bad game that failed. Notice how they never talk about how exciting it was to create this amazing vision, how excited they were to bring this to the world, how much fun it was to talk to fans or to meet fans at cons or whatever. That's never their focus. The audience is never their focus. All they ever talk about is how amazing it is to work there. I can take off time whenever I want. I get all kinds of goodies and food catered. I get paid, and I can have as much LGBTQIA stuff in the game as I want, and no one will criticize it at all. Nobody will tell me no for anything. If I'm having a bad day, I can just go home. If I have my emotional support cat, I can bring my emotional support cat and my other 5 emotional support cats if I need them, and they can stay with me in my cubicle. And they can leave cat doo-doo everywhere and nobody cares, and someone else will clean it up, probably a Mexican. And when I go into the women's bathroom, there's plenty of feminine hygiene products for me, regardless of whether I have a penis or not. And there will be other women in there as well for me to interact with in the bathroom, because normally when you go into a women's bathroom, you have it all to yourself when you're doing your business, whether it's number 1 or number 2. But what's really exciting about the bathrooms at this company is that I can use them while being paid, and there's other women to talk to and lots of free feminine hygiene products as well. And that's the purpose of creating video games. This is what they think the purpose of working in a video game studio is.
Full of highly talented people, but marketing and management completely screwed it over. This team absolutely did not deserve to be treated the way they were. I really hope people listen to it. One last quote that I loved hearing, as it shows how passionate this team was about the game they made. And we can see that quote right here. Travis from the art team responding to Ashley, who says, "Do you want people to know you worked on it?" And Travis says, "Yeah, and I want them to be surprised when I'm happy about it. That's what I want. We were proud, regardless of how it went. We put out a good game." I mean, this is truly astonishing. From the dev trying to act like they put out a good game here, just not even acting like it, saying that they put out a good game, which is just a crazy take and shows that these people have no accountability and they just don't seem like they'll ever grow as people, to the Reset Era user who's actually like buying into this.
See, that's a really great insight. They don't seem like they'll ever grow as people, and they won't, because they live in a fantasy delusional land. When they lose, when they get fired, when things go wrong, all they can do is blame others. Specifically, they blame their own customers who didn't want to buy their product. So they'll never grow as people because they will never be confronted with reality.
Nonsense and acting like, yeah, these people are so talented. They're so hardworking and talented. And they're trying to put all the blame on like marketing and management. What a freaking joke. No accountability from any of these people. And this is to be expected from all of these modern audience types. Just very, very typical. Something funny though is one of the comments on the first page of that thread says, "When you mess things up and blame marketing and management teams." And that person actually got a warning from the moderators. Probably one of the only comments in the entire thread that's actually talking sense, and the mods warned them. Of course. Yeah.
Incredible. It's exactly what I said. Kindness is when nobody ever tells you what you don't want to hear. Unbelievable. It's literally a culture of total unaccountability. It's remarkable.
You know, that is also typical. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed my coverage. I had fun making this video, despite how pathetic these statements were.
Hat tip Hero High. That was a great video. I really enjoy these. Because you know, it's just a little bit of grave dancing. A little bit of grave dance. It's fun. It's fun to see bad developers get what they deserve. Okay, now among my many fascinations, is Hollywood Oscar bait films that are terrible and that I correctly identified was not even worth my time to critique, and I carefully and successfully avoided. And one of the fascinations of this, one of these fascinating examples is One Battle After Another. Let's see here. I found an article on this I just wanted to briefly go over. And then actually I forgot I want to do the critical drinker review of Tron Ares because I think it just dropped. So we'll check that out. But I saw this article and I was kind of intrigued, and so I thought I would read it and just see what I think about it, because really the most interesting thing about this article is probably what I would think about it. No, not long, Redoubt. We're not going to talk about it long. I'm just curious because of this headline. It says, "What if One Battle After Another glorified right-wing terrorists?" If the article's not interesting, because I haven't read it, if it's not interesting, we'll drop it. Well, let's just see. Here's a timely thought experiment, and the author of this article, Christian Toto from Hollywood in Toto. What if director Paul Thomas Anderson dropped a far-right movie into this year's award season mix? The project, dubbed One Battle After Another, features alt-right radicals battling it out with government officials during a Democrat administration. The protesters ignite incendiary devices around a center where January 6 defendants are being held in solitary confinement. Even those who merely entered the Capitol during the, quote, insurrection. A few milled around outside the building that day, never joining the riot. Some radicals in the film detonate bombs in government buildings, unsure if any people are inside. They don't seem to care. One radical, this is alt-right revolutionaries who are trying to liberate J6ers, basically. One radical kills a security officer in a heated moment, helping several J6 activists escape in the process. She's a heroic figure, sultry and uncompromising in her beliefs. A triumphant image of her firing a machine gun while pregnant causes a stir. Her beta male beau, Leonardo DiCaprio, can only hope to keep up with her revolutionary pluck. By all accounts, the couple and their colleagues represent the film's complicated but unabashed heroes. If they ever regret their murderous ways, it isn't captured on screen. Anderson's visceral filmmaking has never been better. Sean Penn delivers a blistering turn as a Democrat-appointed colonel who will stop at nothing to capture DiCaprio's on-screen daughter. The storytelling is intense. The performances are all above reproach. It's an alternately scary, humorous, and ripped from today's headlines. Oh, and the film relentlessly paints Democratic officials as racist, hateful, and often murderous in nature. Would that film's Rotten Tomatoes score stand at 96% fresh? What if its release coincided with real-world violence that eerily reflected the film's messaging? Doubtful at best. Yet this exact premise has the real one battle after another hitting the Rotten Tomatoes bullseye. Critics are fawning over the film, suggesting the Best Picture race unofficially ended with its debut. Trade publications like Variety and The Hollywood Reporter are cranking out stories about the movie, pushing its awareness factor as far as it will go. Variety cries that the film could rule the cultural conversation, giving the term wish casting an extreme close-up. Why wouldn't this alternate reality film earn similar praise to the real thing? Aren't film critics supposed to judge a film on its merits, not any political ideology? This critic gave One Battle After Another a qualified recommendation, dubbing it morally repugnant but impressively assembled. The real One Battle After Another is a serious film that deserves serious consideration. It shouldn't be punished or canceled due to its incendiary nature or proximity to real-world violence. Free speech demands that we let the film get a fair public hearing, which by all accounts is happening right now. Whether Anderson's film is responsible storytelling, given the tenor of the times, is a debate for another time. But let's not kid ourselves. The film's fawning reception comes with extreme caveats, and the story's hard-left posturing explains exactly why. You know, that's an interesting take. Yeah, of course, it's obvious. It's obvious. He's pointing out the obvious double standard. But what I really find interesting, something interesting is starting to take hold. There's a kind of revisionist history that's going on right now. And it goes something like this. Now that the right wing is ascendant, politically and even culturally, after all, Gen Z is trending right more than any other recent generation and are returning to religion and Christianity in massive numbers compared to what anyone would have expected. It is amazing to see that happen in real time. So now that the right is ascendant, both culturally and politically, now these companies are starting to actually pull movies that they know are going to fail because audiences don't want them. Now we're getting this narrative that, whoa, now we can't engage in cancel culture on the right. We can't start canceling films. That would be bad. We don't want to do what the left does. Here's what's insidious and stupid about this reasoning. We have never, ever advocated anyone being disallowed from creating their artistic work. We have never said you can't make that movie. We have lived in a society that for decades has been completely owned, captured, and dominated by leftist thinking everywhere. It is the norm. The norm. They politicize everything. Everything. They get away with, essentially, they can write any movie they want that demonizes any right-wing cause or religious group they want, constantly. They can insult and make fun of Christianity and conservatism in every Late Show, every Oscar show, every Grammy show, every single TV show, book, movie, with absolute total impunity. And even when people don't buy their movies, don't buy their books, and don't want their video games, they still get awards, they get praised, and they get glazed by all of the legacy media and critics. And this has been going on for decades. Meanwhile, you make one film about a man trying to stop child sex trafficking, and it's a giant conspiracy. It is a giant controversy. That would be Jim Caviezel's film about Tim Ballard rescuing children from slavery. And the entire world loses their mind. You see, what we are seeing is a return of the marketplace dictating the content. In other words, the customer choosing how to spend their money is once again asserting control over what gets made. Because at the end of the day, the purpose of entertainment is to sell tickets, to sell subscriptions, to sell advertising and ratings. That is the purpose. And what we have been living under is an ideologically driven false economy in which things that nobody wants and nobody asks for get tons and they get pallets of money. They get pushed out into the media. They get soundly rejected by all the consumers, and they are still praised in award shows and review sites and by the legacy media and their puff pieces. Now the market is correcting. Ubisoft correctly predicted what could easily be predicted, which is that we as customers are in no mood for another lame, cliche, unsophisticated, ham-fisted, racialized story in Assassin's Creed, which will only serve to demonize modern political enemies of the left. We are in no mood for it. Go ahead and make your stupid, woke, wacko Assassin's Creed about an ex-slave fighting the KKK. Go ahead and make it. We're not going to buy it because we don't want it. And what's finally happening is that the companies have finally learned that the customer is in charge, and they are correcting their behavior based on what they think people will buy. That is not cancel culture. Full stop. The right is not engaging in cancel culture. What is happening is these companies are tired of losing massive amounts of money because no one wants to buy their brain-dead corporate slop written by stupid people who eat glue. That is what's happening. And what I've noticed lately is that you are starting to be, they are trying to gaslight you into thinking that because you are complaining and you're complaining about these things as we always have, and now you're celebrating the fact that these stupid woke projects are not even getting made at this point. It's not because they are afraid of the controversy. Hell, you have Disney Star Wars has spent the last 5 series they've released. They've spent their media marketing page has been happy to fight with their own fan base as racists and Nazis. They love the fight. That's not why they're not releasing these. They're not releasing them because they're tired of losing money. That's why. We as customers have the right to reject whatever we want to reject, and we don't owe anyone an explanation. This is not some kind of social engineering project. That's not what entertainment is. That's what the left has been trying to make it. The entertainment business is just that. It is business. It is business. There is this article. Now, this is a really fascinating, bizarre case. Spencer Bakuli of Bounding Into Comics, and I'm pretty sure he's the one that wrote this article I really love. I got to see if I can find it, though. I don't know if he wrote that article or not. I forget. Actually, hang on. Let me see if I can find this real quick. I think it would be... No, it wasn't that one. I'd have to dig through my stack of stuff to find it. But anyway, there was this article. Oh, there it is. There it is. I think I found it. There it is. No, it was Stephen Kent. Stephen Kent wrote the opinion piece. It was how Palpatine's good as a point of view fooled not only Anakin Skywalker, but also a generation of Star Wars fans. That was the article. And it was about how in Revenge of the Sith, when Palpatine is talking to Anakin, and he says, good is simply a point of view. You know, the Jedi pursue power, the Sith, you know. And essentially he's wheedling Anakin and into becoming susceptible to the dark side. And in the film, the way that Palpatine is doing this is he's gaslighting Anakin into a moral relativism argument in which the Jedi and the Sith are just two sides of the same coin, right? And the key aspect of that is that it's a lie. It's a lie that he's using to twist and corrupt Anakin. And Stephen Kent wrote an opinion piece about how essentially an entire generation, primarily Gen Z and probably some millennials, were really millennials as well, were raised on this idea. They actually kind of bought into the argument. They said, well, the Jedi abused power. And this narrative has found its way into Disney Star Wars, and it's really the central theme of The Acolyte. The central theme of The Acolyte is that the Jedi are not good, and the Sith are not evil. Really, there is no such thing as objective morality in Star Wars. It's just who has power and how they use it. That is, and that's not even me being sarcastic or that's literally the theme of The Acolyte, and it's why The Acolyte is so disgusting and odious, and why it's so antithetical to Star Wars. Because Star Wars is a moral fable, and in Lucas's vision. And Leslie Headland used The Acolyte to twist Star Wars into moral relativism. You don't hate The Acolyte enough. I'm telling you right now, you don't hate it enough. It is a sick perversion of George Lucas's world. It's disgusting. And it was not written by anyone who likes Star Wars. I can promise you that. And so we got pulled into this. Now, my point is that was a brilliant article, and it's a sign of Bounding Into Comics and their really interesting moral compass. But then I came across this article by Spencer Bakuli, who is now the editor-in-chief, if I'm not mistaken, of Bounding Into Comics. I had to do a double take when I read this headline, because I'm like, is he saying what I think he's saying? Ubisoft canceled post-American Civil War Assassin's Creed, felt story was too political in a country too unstable. So yeah, okay, fine. But this is what he says in the opinion piece. In the latest case of snowflakeism torpedoing a genuinely interesting creative choice, wait, what? A new report has revealed that while the next Assassin's Creed game was originally set to tell the story of a freed slave who joins the Brotherhood in the years immediately following the American Civil War, Ubisoft ultimately scrapped these plans in order to avoid the headache of dealing with America's current obsession with intellectually dishonest pearl clutching. So what he's saying is, a bunch of pearl clutching right-wingers don't want this. Or just a bunch of people who get upset about the moral themes of a story. And it's like, that's not what's going on here. continuing. Where was the rest of it? God, the ads on Bounding into Comics, out of control. Word of the now canceled Assassin's Creed entry was first brought to light courtesy of GameFile reporter Stephen Totilo, who had himself gleaned the information from interviews with 5 current and former Ubisoft employees who spoke to GameFile on condition of anonymity because they were not authorized to speak about the project. According to these anonymous employees, the follow-up to Assassin's Creed Shadows would have taken its furthest jump yet towards present day and dropped players into America's Reconstruction era, a period of roughly 12 years immediately following the Civil War. Therein, players would have stepped into the shoes of a now freed black slave who, after moving west in search of a new life following years of forced labor in the South, is recruited by the Brotherhood to deal with a brewing plot within the former Confederate States. They did confirm the game would have seen the protagonist dealing with the birth of the Ku Klux Klan, which was born into its pathetic existence in 1865, with all 5 noting that they were, per Totilo, enthusiastic about the game, but were also frustrated by its cancellation, which they perceived as Ubisoft bowing to controversy. 3 of these sources further explained that according to internal communications from Ubisoft's Paris HQ, the American said Assassin's Creed was canceled for 2 explicit reasons. The first being the online backlash that spring to the reveal of Yasuke, a historically inspired black samurai. No, he wasn't. There was no black samurai historically. That is a lie. As a protagonist in the company's then upcoming Assassin's Creed Shadows, and concern that the political climate in the United States was becoming increasingly tense. You think, no, let me translate. Let me explain what the climate is. The climate is get woke, go broke. Your crazy, wacko critical race theory is over. We don't want it. We're not buying it. And if you make another game full of that crap, it's going to fail, and you're going to lose money. That's what's happening. Quote, too political in a country too unstable. Our country's not unstable. The lunatic, violent left is unstable. They're the ones that are unstable. We conservatives, moderates, independents, apoliticals, and libertarians, we're fine. Moderate liberals, classical liberals, we're just fine. We're quite stable. We believe in things like voting, settling things peacefully, free speech, open debate, minus the bullets. We believe in those things. It's the wacko, crazy left that wants to obsess over race in everything that's unstable. But here's the thing about this article that really kind of blew me away. I couldn't believe I was reading this on Bounding into Comics. Now again, I'm not saying that Bounding into Comics can't have a countervailing opinion. I'm just saying I'm shocked. I'm shocked to see this from Bounding into Comics, because it's one thing to say, hey, let's be careful about not getting into cancel culture, but this is a crazy take. Quote, sadly, for all the criticisms one could level at Ubisoft over their crappy business decisions, corporate greed, or the ever-dropping quality of their releases, including those related to Assassin's Creed series, nothing will change the fact that their apparent read of the U.S. climate right now is sadly spot on. Where once a large portion of center-right-leaning audiences rejected the reactionary identity politics seen from the video game industry's more aggressively progressive developers, recent months, and especially those since President Donald Trump's second-term inauguration in January, have seen many a self-proclaimed, quote, free speech warrior gleefully indulging in the victimhood opportunism they once decried. What? Do we have a right to, it's victim? First of all, we're not victims. No one's claiming that. We're saying don't make your crappy product. Make your crappy product. We're not going to buy it. That's all we've ever said. Nobody has said that anyone needs to be censored, banned, that any company is not allowed to make the game they want to make. We're saying we don't want it. As customers, we're saying we don't want it. And now the only thing that's changed is they're listening now. That is literally the only thing that's changed. And if we seem a little more on edge than usual, it might be because of the multiple assassinations and mass shootings and the twice assassination attempts on our current president. It could be those things. And the mass celebrations of those events with total impunity that we might be a little bit irritated by. Just a little. While Ubisoft absolutely and drastically dropped the ball in regards to respecting the game's historical Japanese setting with self-inflicted errors, including their insistence that a poorly researched pop history profile of the historical Yasuke was the undisputed truth, unauthorized use of a historical reenactment group's fictional unit banner, and more misunderstandings of the period's customs and aesthetics than one can shake a katana at, anti-woke commentators eventually became so sensitive about Shadow's existence that they began crying racism over its foreign-born protagonist being allowed to enact violence upon both Japan's native people and an in-game recreation of a real-world Shinto shrine, an absolutely insane notion overall. So this is the gaslighting, and I don't understand why this is coming from Bounding into Comics, but now they're... See, this is this both sidesism, false equivalency. When we don't get our way, we stay home. We don't buy the movie ticket. We don't buy the comic book. We don't play the video game. When the other side doesn't get their way, people get doxxed, intimidated, threatened, censored, banned, fired from their jobs, their livelihoods destroyed, and maybe they take a bullet to the neck if they're lucky. That's what happens when the other side doesn't get their way in the culture. When we don't get our way in the culture, we don't spend our money. And some stupid, blue-haired, body positivity slob loses their job and cries about it on Reddit. That's what happens to them. So do not be gaslit into thinking that you are engaging in cancel culture because you don't want something that these stupid woke companies are making. The fact of the matter is, if we lived in an actual free market that was guided by free market principles of what the customer is willing to spend their money on, the Book of Boba Fett would not have been made. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny would not have been made. Joker, Folie à Deux would not have been made. The Acolyte would not have been made. The Marvels would not have been made. Secret Invasion would not have been made. Tron Ares would not have been made. Rebel Moon would not have been made. Assassin's Creed Shadows would not have been made with a black protagonist in feudal Japan as a samurai. If a free market existed these past 5 to 10 years, none of these stupid projects would have ever been made because they don't sell. Nobody wants them. Nobody plays them. Nobody watches them. We are not witnessing right-wing cancel culture. We are witnessing what's called a market correction. So don't let them intimidate you, men and ladies, if you exist on this channel. They could be. It's possible. Sound of Freedom. Thank you, Fumi. Redoubt Productions. Sound of Freedom. For some reason, the title was escaping me. Sound of Freedom, the Jim Caviezel film. Yeah. So they can make thousands and thousands of things like One Battle After Another, and they win awards. They get accolades. All the top 100% top critic score on Rotten Tomatoes. We make one movie, Sound of Freedom, and we get hundreds of articles in the media about how a bunch of dads with earworms made this movie. That something does not pass the smell test about that. Fu Man Blue says, I can't wait to see how badly Mando and the little green fucker fails. Crowbar says, I can't wait to hate it. Dude, again, Crowbar. Don't forget, we covered this last week. Even the shills are giving up the ghost on this one. Even the shills are kind in their way. They're admitting it's not that good. They're like, well, it's kind of just Grogu doing Grogu stuff, so I'm not expecting much, which is shill speak for this is a turd. Even the shills. Redoubt Production says, I know I've enjoyed a few libations tonight, but I am not that far gone that I just made that synopsis up in my head, right? Libations. Redoubt? Are you getting sauced, Redoubt? Okay, what else do I have in the stack of stuff? Because we ain't done yet, Mr. Producer. I got to get back to the top here because I was searching through everything. See, you covered that one. I've got a couple. I got a couple cool ones. Oh yes, I wanted to do. We might do the Critical Drinker one. Let's do this. It's a Gundam video. The Xbox game scam, just for fun, shall we? Oh yeah. So I have an It's a Gundam video, but before we do that, I want to, because I honestly haven't seen the rest of it. I want to finish the Hassan thing. Okay. Oh yeah, here it is. Here, okay. From the top, Mr. Producer. Let's just roll tape. I'll just risk it. We'll see what happens.
To put the plan in motion, guys.
Oh wait, there's gonna be an echo. Sound. Okay, hang on.
Communist revolutionary takeover. Every single enemy of the revolution needs to be murdered. Come on. Oh, you got... The streets will run red with the blood of the fascist right-wingers. Come on. In Minecraft. And by in Minecraft, I of course mean in real life. I'm dead serious.
That really is how his voice sounds. He's always whining. He's always whining about everything. Can you guys hear it? Is it good? Okay, good. I couldn't see the okay. I think it should the sound. Let me know if the sound balance is off. Roll tape.
Full-blown genocide is what's needed. In Minecraft, of course, but especially in real life, which is what I'm actually talking about. Anyone who disagrees with you. Yes, anyone who disagrees with you about anything. Come on. Use children for... Strap a bomb to a kid, send them on a play date at a conservative kid's house, boom! In Minecraft, but actually in real life. You know what we need to do to win the revolution? We need to violate Twitch's terms of service. We need to spend every day violating Twitch's terms of service harder and harder. I love inciting violence against the law. In Minecraft... Disobedience warning! Cannot prep outside of quarantine zone! Kaya, come on! Don't disrupt my stream, you stupid, worthless infidel dog! Can you believe this dog attacked me, chat? So incredibly spoiled. What? No, it's not a shock collar.
Oh,
it mostly doesn't electrocute him. What are you guys talking about? It's not a shock collar.
It mostly doesn't electrocute him. Dude, you know what? If I didn't laugh, I would say other things, which are not very good. You can just tell so much about a person when you see how they treat someone they have power over. Get out of my shot, Mr. Producer. Out of my shot. Jeez. And so the way you see someone treat someone that they have power over is like a huge sign of like who they really are. Mr. Producer, it's not real, okay? I mean, There's no Mr. Producer. I'll prove there's no Mr. Producer that I'm yelling at. So yeah, so when I saw that clip, I'm like, he 100% shocked that dog, and like, what a piece of shit. Just what a piece of shit.
Normal collar. It's got a device on it that pacifies the dog in Minecraft. You think we're gonna win the revolution without electrocuting any dogs? Twitch didn't do anything. YouTube has my back. No one cares about some disobedient capitalist dog. Come on.
You're
Kaya voted governor of California.
safe now, Kaya. Now, lead us into an animal cruelty-free tomorrow as our governor.
Hey everybody, we're making a full-length animated...
Okay, Freedom Tunes. I just had to see that. Poor Kaya. Free Kaya. I just, I can't allow myself to think about either animals or children having to live with abusive guardians. Like, just the thought of that, I just can't go there. I just can't allow my mind to go there, because if I go there, it will just uncork a level of rage that just can't be contained. So our choices are to laugh at it and do what we can for those we can.
I'm declaring war on fat gay kids. Not the
That's one of the best things I've ever heard. Oh my God, Gundam. One more time.
I'm declaring war on fat gay kids. Not the kids themselves, but on whatever's making them so fat, gay, and pathetic.
This is sounding incredibly based.
I think we should have seen the writing on the wall back when Sarah Bond, the current sitting president of Xbox, found time to become a board member for Tyson's Chicken.
What?
Xbox president delighted to join board of directors at Tyson's Chicken.
With the current state of Xbox brand, you'd think she would be focused on...
You know what this is? This is like the CEO of Cracker Barrel, right? I sometimes forget that as a person in the public eye, as a respected and well-regarded commentator on the internet at large, it is my responsibility to provide value and ethical reporting of facts. And so when I said that the Cracker Barrel CEO had no experience and no knowledge whatsoever of being a restaurateur or what it takes to have a successful restaurant or any of the inner workings of the restaurant, and that she was a corporate pencil pusher, I actually was stating that as an opinion, but I did not clarify that was my speculation. I was speculating that was the case. It was only after the stream was over when my conscience reminded me that, hey, it's fine to say that in front of friends, just casually in conversation. But when you are a professional on the internet, you have a responsibility, Captain, to at least state that what you're saying is speculation and not give the impression that it is fact when you don't know that for a fact. And so I was losing sleep over it. So I Googled the chick that was running Cracker Barrel that like changed the logo and all that, and I went to Cracker Barrel's website. I went to look at their executive team, and I looked at her profile on their executive website, and I saw her entire career history because it's public information there. And you know what I found out? I found out that I was dead on accurate. I found out that shooting from the hip, totally wildly speculating, I was, per usual, absolutely accurate. She started her career in marketing school. Marketing. She has a marketing degree. She worked her way up through various corporate marketing positions until she eventually reached like a vice president level, and then she became like a VP in a restaurant chain from the marketing background. And then she wound up the CEO of several different companies where, so she never saw the outside of a corporate cubicle, ever. She never saw the outside of, well, to be fair, a corporate office. And all she'd ever done was marketing and business. That's all she'd ever done. She had never been a chef. She'd never been a sous chef. She was never a line cook. She was never a restaurateur. She never founded her own chain of food trucks. Like, she had no actual experience as a restaurateur whatsoever. And she's running Cracker Barrel. That is what this babe is making me think of. She's running Xbox, a video game entertainment platform. And meanwhile, as a side gig, she's running Tyson Chicken. I don't know for certain. I'm just speculating here. I don't think she knows the first thing about running video game entertainment or running a food service company. I don't think she has any real experience in either of those things. My speculation is that this babe is 100% a marketing or business school pencil pusher who has played the corporate game, and she's now at the top of it. And of course, DEI culture has definitely helped her along. That's my theory.
That, but I must admit, sometimes even I need a chicken tendy or two to get through this slop on a daily basis.
Your chicken's looking nice, pal.
Woo! Yo, he stole my chicken!
Got a crispy treasure, can't slow me down. Hot and golden, I'm out of this town.
Do you remember that time when Microsoft laid off 9,000 employees? Then someone at Xbox posted an AI image looking for graphic designers where the screen was on backwards? These are obviously the moves of a company firing off on—
Wow. The irony. The computer monitor is facing the wrong way. They're like, we're expert graphic designers, and we need more team members.
On all cylinders. Personally, I live for this level of tone-deaf dystopian reality. It's a never-ending Onion article, and we're all living in it.
In order to get answers, I knew I had to take a new tactic, appealing to man's most carnal desires.
Hey boy, you like what you see? You like?
But the point being is that Microsoft is nosediving the Xbox brand faster than our economy.
Have all the money, buy all the developers, have all the talent, give them all the time, make 0 games.
Wellington
dies. What business strategy is this called?
It's called the dark side Phil.
Just because it's a business model you don't like because you're jealous doesn't mean that it's not a business. It just...
Dude, that's the logic of the Concord Devs. That's Concord developer logic right there. It's Dark Side Phil. Do you know what I just realized? I just realized why Dark Side Phil is so fascinating. Because he's literally the avatar of what modern entertainment and video game writers have become. They're all Dark Side Phil. Have you ever thought about this? That's basically what they all are.
It's a business model you don't like because you're jealous doesn't mean that it's not a business. It just means you're a broke bum who's jealous that I'm successful and you're not.
Xbox has canceled the reboot of Perfect Dark and is shutting down the initiative. Rare's ever...
Concord isn't bad. Concord was a masterpiece, and they were so wonderful to work for. They had such great benefits and such a wonderful women's restroom to spend all my time in, and with free tampons. And Concord was wonderful, and just because you don't get it, you're jealous.
Wild has also been canceled.
At the heart of the matter is that Xbox has no exclusive games. It's nothing but brand recognition now that relies heavily on a loyal fan base to keep it alive. Even Sony's smart enough not to give away their big titles day one on PC. or on PlayStation Plus. Nintendo, if you want to play Mario Sunshine, you better buy the console, bitch, or emulate it. But most people can't even change the oil in their vehicles, so emulation is asking far too much of this generation of human.
Here's an interview with Phil Spencer. I don't know what he does at Xbox anymore, but he says some word salad.
That into this is an Xbox. In your interpretation, so it's coming from your words, what does that mean now for Xbox as you head into the future?
Yeah, I want people to be able to experience the games that we build, the services that we offer on as many devices as we can. Obviously, some of the devices out there, some of the platforms are closed. They don't allow everything that we do to show up on those platforms. The thing that I've learned and continue to learn when I'm listening to creators, not only our own studios, but other teams building games, is every creator out there wants to build a game that can find as many players as they want. And frankly, there aren't many platforms out there that try to build connections to people on so many different screens. It's almost like single platform, single device, single game. And that's kind of the history of our business. And we're really taking an approach of we want people to be able to play Xbox on many different screens. Now, not every experience will be the same. We obviously love the native experience we have on our own platform and our own hardware. And that's something that will continue for us. But we're not going to put walls up around where people can engage with the great games our studios are building, or where they can experience Xbox through different forms, whether it's cloud, whether it's on PC, whether it's on handheld PCs, whether it's on phones. I want everybody to be able to play on Xbox. And it does mean more of our games shipping on more platforms, not just PlayStation. We love the work that we do with Nintendo. We love what we do with Valve on Steam.
I hate corporate speak so much. I just despise corporate bureaucratic pencil pushers. He sounds just like the Cracker Barrel babe. He sounds just like Bob Iger. He sounds just like Kathleen Kennedy. They all sound the same. They're all using word salad to distract you from reality. He does not give a crap about the video gamer's experience. He doesn't give a crap about the customer. All he cares about is extracting as much money as possible. To be fair, I suppose that's his job. But the problem is, shouldn't you be good at making the product you're in charge of making? That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
And that's going to continue. We'll just continue to do more of it because what we learn is put the games first. Make sure the games can be as great as they can. We love the experience on our own hardware, our own platform, but our games will show up in more and more places, no doubt.
This is fine. Frankly, after listening to that, why own an Xbox? There's no point. That's all I gleaned from this short clip. Fast forward to October 1st, and Xbox fans got a face full of late-stage capitalism. They decided to charge you more and give you less. Delicious.
You play the games you want.
Marry that girl. Oh, that's a keeper right there.
Here's a look at what's new and what's changing. First off, you might have noticed some changes to the plan names. Xbox Game Pass Core is now Xbox Game Pass Essential. Xbox Game Pass Standard is now Xbox Game Pass Premium. And Xbox Game Pass Ultimate is still Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. We explored other names, but they didn't work out.
That millennial humor in their corporate you know what, that little video, to me, watching that little video where she's like talking, okay, Xbox Essential has changed to Xbox whatever, and Xbox Ultimate is still Ultimate because other names did work. What that feels like to watch that is what it feels like to watch Tron Ares. Like, that's exactly what it feels like to watch Tron Ares.
I guess the consultancy group that they hired for this garbage had to pretend they were doing something. We think calling it core really resonates with consumers.
This plan is expanding to give you more ways to play, including PC and cloud gaming. Essential, you can earn up to 25,000 rewards.
Cloud gaming is such trash. Why do they even bother with that crap? It is trash.
Points a year just by playing the games you love. You can redeem your points for Xbox gift cards to get new games.
The Xbox reward points. The only person I've ever seen speak of these glowingly as a feature was Darkside Fella, and I'm not even kidding, like a week ago. You have to be a professional consumer to benefit from this sort of program.
Another upgrade is that Essential now includes in-game benefits for some of the biggest games, like League of Legends, Call of Duty Warzone, and Overwatch 2. And with
Premium's big selling point are in-game skins that you can use in games like Overwatch 2, another rebranded product that is now worse than the original. Ironic. Oh, and you can get 50,000 reward points, up to, meaning you're not guaranteed it. Xbox Ultimate stays the same with a few extras like Disney Plus giving you Hulu, but for gaming, it's just as soulless and meaningless because who really wants this crap? And what's ironic about Xbox Game Pass is it cannibalizes sales.
Call of Duty lost $300 million in sales due to Game Pass.
Best thing about Ultimate is that you can play new games on day one. That includes games like Call of Duty Black Ops 7, The Outer Worlds 2, and High on Life 2.
Then why would you keep giving Call of Duty away on Game Pass, you dumb bastard? I don't even work there and I saw that was a bad idea. Good lord, the rewards points again. I feel like I'm being sold a video game equivalent of a timeshare. Oh, and cloud gaming, something they so desperately want people to do.
Early for console, but Essential now lets you play games on Xbox console, PC, and cloud.
Experience Xbox through different forms, whether it's cloud, whether it's on PC, whether it's on handheld PCs.
That means you have the freedom to stream and play on any supported device. And with cloud gaming, that includes a lot of devices.
Commitment to cross progression and cloud saves, so you can pick up on one device and you can play on another is part of that.
And Premium was built with everyone in mind. So we're giving you more ways to play with this one too, with games on Xbox console, PC, and cloud. You heard that right. PC and cloud are coming to Premium.
And also our investments in cloud gaming, which you referenced earlier. A lot of those who use cloud gaming are people who own a console. They're just, they want to play it on another device.
Play Xbox from your PC or your handheld. And when they say handheld, they're hoping you buy an ROG Xbox Ally, the most expensive Xbox console on the market, only at $1,000 plus tax.
Not a bad deal if I say so myself. Kill me, please. I want to die.
However you like to play, Xbox Game Pass has a plan that's right for you, because this is how we play now.
It should be rebranded to This Is How We Pay Now, because it's more accurate. The entire video leaves out the most important part of the information, is that Xbox Game Pass, the ultimate version, is now $30 a month. It's 50% more, and nobody's feeling it. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate will now be $30 a month. Whoopee. Compare yearly cost. Essentials is $100, that's the low-end one. Premium, you get to play new video games a year after they launch. And if you're going to play that game, why not just buy the game and skip Premium? I don't even know. And Ultimate is $360 a year. PlayStation's Premium, whatever the hell this is $150. More palatable, but still, I think it's far too expensive for what you're getting. Or maybe I'm just crazy. Frankly, you're paying $360 a year to own nothing. Rockstar aspires to this level of dystopian gaming. Frankly, what little extra they offer in the Ultimate tier is stuff that I think most gamers don't care about or even want. And this is all to make up for losses. But the thing is, Xbox Game Pass seems fairly popular. But I guess it's not popular enough to make up for the money they're losing on owning Blizzard IPs. Obviously, there was a backlash. People started unsubscribing droves, and good on them. This is garbage.
Had to cancel mine on console. Bye-bye, fuck you, Xbox Game Pass. I personally love when companies do shit like this so I can cancel subs with zero hesitation and pirate without a care in the world. No sweat off my back. If you don't want my money, that's fine.
Other people were trying to stock up on Xbox Ultimate gift cards because they're still $19 for the gift card. I guess Xbox didn't account for this loophole, but I'm sure they will at some point.
How long do those Game Pass cards even last? Can you buy an ass ton of them and then use them over the years? Oh, wait, 1 month. Oh.
After this announcement, the cancel subscription webpage for Xbox crashed.
Oh my.
which is probably why people ran to their consoles to cancel there instead. Xbox started off so strong, and the Xbox 360 was pretty much their golden age. If the console had stayed true to what made it more than a match for Sony, I think modern gaming wouldn't be as horrible as it is now. But as it stands, Xbox is one step closer to becoming Sega or SNK. There's rumors from Xbox insiders saying that Xbox as a brand is over and there won't be another console generation from them. Companies like Sam's Club are selling consoles at a massively reduced price.
Oh my god! We're having a fire sale! Oh, the burning! It burns me!
To sum it up, the future of Xbox software publishing is significantly honed and focused on profitable IPs. Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, Minecraft, Candy Crush, oh my god, Horizon. Cloud gaming being the home of Xbox platform, transitioning Game Pass into basically becoming point of entry subscription for xCloud access, which will continue to drive its price tag higher, by the way. They aren't done there just yet either, and the releasing of software on any device that has a marketplace and users willing to buy their titles.
Basically, the insider is saying that Q1 of 2026, a lot of people are going to be fired. The same amount of people that were fired recently, so we're looking at around 10,000 layoffs. This whole thing will hold more weight to me if and when that happens. Until then, this is all just speculation. But
Hat tip, it's a Gundam. Another fun analysis and a reminder. They went broke. They got broke. They enshittified all of these industries, and now they are decaying into a fertile soil. And from that soil will spring a new golden age of entertainment. And we will step into that glorious future together, my friends. Now, I think we need one to close it out. I have two choices for you, my dear chat. We could do... it's a Mr. Grizzy video. So we could do Chris Stuckman doubles down on refusing to criticize bad movies, or Disney Star Wars supporters want fans to give Rey another chance. Which one do you want? First one in the chat gets their way. I could do that. I could do what Chris Stuckman does. I could refuse to criticize bad movies. I could do that. No, I couldn't. I wouldn't last a day. It's not even possible for me. I think we'll go with which is... Oh, no. Never mind. I misread that. Okay, here we go. Let's roll with they want another Rey movie. Stuckman? You think Stuckman read out? Going once? Going twice? All right, let's do Stuckman. I was kind of leaning Stuckman anyway. Okay, roll tape, Mr. Producer.
So remember last year when Chris Stuckman refused to criticize...
By the way, I saw the trailer when I went to see Good Boy. I saw the trailer for Chris Stuckman's movie, which I didn't know it was a horror movie. And it's his indie horror movie that he produced, and it looks like garbage. It looks awful. I have zero interest in that movie at all. But hey, it is what it is.
Madam Web and uploaded what basically amounted to be a non-review of the movie?
Probably not going to do a video for this one based off of what I've heard, since I do try to keep it mostly about film celebration on this channel.
Which ended up getting completely roasted by the entire internet.
I was able to make an indie film without a giant corporation breathing down my neck, which is not the privilege that S.J. Clarkson had when she directed Madam Web. I know how hard it is to make a movie. I do not know how hard it is to make a movie under the studio system.
Well, he's back, and he's doubling down, and he's even taken some shots at negative reviewers and content creators on YouTube.
I don't want to be 65 years old and being like, this movie was a piece of shit. and then have some horribly cringe thumbnail.
Because obviously Stuckman's thumbnails are just the gold standard, and you can clearly see how excited and passionate he is.
He looks just dead inside. It's like 1,000-yard stare.
To come on his channel and talk about movies. Seriously, just look at his face.
So, Return of the Jedi came out in 1983. So the very last Star Wars movie at the time came out 5 years before I was even born. But of course, I watched them over and over again as a kid, as you know.
And I'd say that you should, if you enjoyed the one that came before, you'd probably enjoy this one.
So Chris Stuckman is being interviewed by Greg Alba over at...
You're right, Crowbar. Because the thumbnail was Stuckman and then Good Boy, you know, the dog from Good Boy. You're saying the dog has more facial expression? He literally does. And having seen the movie Good Boy, I can confirm in that entire movie, the dog's eyes have so much more emotion than Chris Stuckman.
At The Real Rejects, where he was asked about his refusal to review and criticize bad movies. After Greg Alba got all the ass-kissing out of his system, of course.
Moments ago, I finished having a sit-down with Chris Stuckman, and this easily turned into one of my...
Look, the real issue with what Stuckman is doing is it's so intellectually dishonest, and it's so self-serving. Do you have to say mean things about a movie? Absolutely not. You really don't. I joke about being constructive criticism, and it's anything but. I resort to petty, mean-spirited attacks at times when I feel it's deserved by, you know, Buttface, for example. But it is also possible to, you know, Siskel and Ebert. I used to watch Siskel and Ebert and their shows, and it was very simple. They would either give a movie a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And it was roughly 50-50. I mean, they'd have a thumbs up, they'd have a thumbs down. Sometimes they disagree. Siskel said yay, Ebert said nay. And they would critique, they never said like, they were not like Nerdrotic or Critical Drinker. They weren't saying crass or rude things, but they were no less critical for that. They would say this movie had terrible cinematography, the script was very plotting, the characters weren't very compelling. So in other words, you can have an educated critique of something without being deliberately mean-spirited or rude. In fact, the Critical Drinker does it all the time, and I think it's why he's just not quite as fun as he used to be. All right, Footman, thanks for coming by. Have a good one. There he goes. So it's intellectually dishonest to say you can't say anything bad about a movie.
Absolute favorite conversations I've ever had here on camera. You know, this is one of those cases, that phrase where people say, this person needs no intro. And I feel like if you guys are here, this individual across from me really doesn't need an intro. There's some movies that come out where I feel like the director is kind of the star of the movie. Let's say like Avatar, when that was first announced. It's like James Cameron's kind of the star of this movie. A lot of times Christopher Nolan is. And this is in no way a discredit to your actual like leading actors in there, but in a lot of ways you are kind of the star of what's happening with this film.
Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. I don't want to hear that bullshit.
This real critical choice that you made that was very, very bold, where you decided that you weren't going to do movie reviews for movies that you didn't like. That doesn't mean you wouldn't be critical of movies that you were reviewing, but
that's literally exactly what it means.
Like how you kind of just snuck that one in there. Yes, he'll criticize the studio, as we heard earlier, but won't criticize the creatives, writers, and directors.
You were adamant that I'm not going to do movie reviews for movies I don't like.
That's right.
And it was met with its own weird level of controversy. And
yeah. So Stuckman getting called out.
It's not controversial. We have an opinion about it. Why? I hate this weird gaslighting thing where anytime there's a disagreement over something, we call, oh, it's controversy. It's controversial. It's not controversial. People have an opinion about it.
for refusing to do his job. That is the weird controversy, but not the movie critic that refuses to criticize movies. That's all fine, well, and good. Okay, got it.
I was unhappy as a person.
Oh.
I was in a very negative emotional space.
Stuckman once again really bringing the energy to the conversation.
Going to see movies, 2-3 movies a week, sometimes more, and then having to discuss things that I just felt that I didn't like. I didn't like this movie, I'm going to make a video about it. And then also there's a sense of sometimes you have expectations from your audience for a certain type of reaction you might give.
Yeah. So now he's throwing his own viewers under the bus. Not the best idea as a YouTuber, but go ahead, continue.
And they want you to go there. They want you to get angry. They want you to get, they want you to rant. They want you to become that version of whether they loved your video of like the Emoji Movie or something, and they want you to get back to that place. And it's like, that's literally not me right now.
No, Chris, I think people just want you to be honest. I think people just want you to be genuine and say what you really think about something, positive or negative, and I don't know, maybe bring a little bit of personality to your reviews.
And I will say, I've noticed a lot of discussion surrounding the sort of implications of the social commentary on this film, and I'm not, personally, I'm not. It didn't affect my enjoyment.
That must be 1-800-DANKY. Because that's so good.
But it seems like your refusal to speak negatively of movies is because you're afraid of what directors, other filmmakers, and big shots in Hollywood, people more important than your YouTube viewers, might think of your negative criticism.
Where it wasn't just about knowing how hard it is to make a movie and not wanting to trash filmmakers that I admire. I've always kind of been in this space where I feel like I have been trying to achieve some kind of pat on the back from people I don't know who are in a position of power who can say that I did the thing, whatever that is.
Wow. So if all you want at the end of the day is a pat on the back from the super elites over in Hollywood, then why should we trust anything that you have to say? You're just going to say whatever you think you have to say and be positive 100% of the time in order to get their attention and to get that pat on the back.
And I feel like all of us are in that position where we're always looking for the people who can reach out and like sort of bless us with their touch to let us know that we did the thing.
Yeah. Wow, that's actually really inspiring, and it's causing me to reflect in my own way, because you're so right about that.
Oh my God.
I'm getting the feeling that Gregory here kind of wants to do other things to Chris Stuckman's ass besides just kiss it. I don't know. Hit the like button if you agree.
I was very unhappy being in a space of negativity. And I began to notice a shift on not just YouTube, but everywhere really, towards negativity and what I will call performative mocking.
Performative mocking, huh? So what Stuckman is saying here is that negative movie reviewers and YouTubers who spend significant time on their platforms criticizing movies are actually disingenuous, inauthentic, and just putting on a performance.
You're doing it for the crowd. You're not authentically being this person.
Of course we're doing it for the crowd, because you're on YouTube. Everything I do is for the crowd. What other reason would I do it for, Stuckman? It's why you do what you do. You're making a movie for the crowd. That's why you're making a movie.
Person. And I think that there's a lot of that online right now where it's like, I would like to be angry for the sake of being mad. I just,
What I would like, Chris Stuckman, what I would like is for when audiences say, we don't want this movie, we didn't ask for it, we don't like what you're doing to these legacy characters, we'd prefer if you either don't make this movie or make it with someone who cares and respects and loves the source material and will honor that. What I would like is for the stewards of these properties to respect the wishes of their audience, to care about the feedback of their audience. What I would like is to see more movies that are good than not. What I would like is to return to the way things were in the 2010s, the 1990s, and the 1980s, when most big budget films, by and large, were good to great. And yes, there were bad movies here and there, but the creatives behind the movies had one thing in mind: making a good movie that sold to customers and did well. That was the goal. That's what I would like. I would like to be able to come onto this channel and talk about great films. And the problem that we have, the reason there's so much negativity online is because there is a massive amount of negative garbage in these movies being crammed down our throats. That's not our fault. We have spoken with our voices, with our wallets, with our critiques, and with our choices very, very loudly to all of the creatives trying to win our business what we want, and we have been ignored, we have been insulted, and we have been demonized. So if we're a little bit salty about it, and honestly not even salty, we're just having a little fun at their expense, that would be why. Redoubt Productions saying, here's a thought, maybe, just maybe, Az got so pissed off over Starfield because he genuinely was tired of how bad he felt video games had become, that he had passion for video games to be good. Well said, Redoubt. Well said. That's my very thought. That's exactly, you know what? In fact, in that rant, how did he begin, if you remember? The way he began his famous Starfield rant was he said, you know, Bethesda, I have something I want to say to you, and you should listen. When I sit down to play my game, I'm in my comfy chair, I'm at home, I'm excited for my space experience, I want to have fun on this adventure, I want to be transported to another world. The last thing I need is, and then he talked about what he was upset about. But he began by saying, this is what I wanted, and this is what I expected, and this is what I came for, and you betrayed that. You betrayed that. And that's exactly how I feel, not only about video games like Starfield, but about these movies. These movies feel like a betrayal. I went and saw Tron. It was a waste of my fucking time. And, you know, the fact of the matter is, when I'm joking around and mocking them and having fun at their expense and laughing, mostly what that is me making light of what's really, you know, my time and money being wasted, and I don't appreciate it. I don't appreciate it. So I've got zero time for this weak, lame attempt to lay all this off on the audience. The audience has every right to like or dislike anything they don't want. It is the job of the film studios to entertain them, and they're failing at that job. That's not our fault.
Because that's what's expected of me.
So Stuckman here proving that he does not watch any...
You know, this is a Chris Stuckman has a personal problem. And his personal problem is he is an inauthentic tool, and he feels guilty about it. And he is projecting all of that onto his audience and onto other people and to the industry and onto YouTube, when really he needs to look in the mirror and have a good long conversation about his own cognitive dissonance. He is acting in contradiction of his own values and beliefs, and that's why he feels this way. That's not our problem. That's not his audience's problem. That's his problem. And he's confused.
Of these negative reviewers, quote unquote, videos, because they're very rarely angry. Most of the time, they're just laughing at, mocking, and getting a kick out of how bad this shit is because these supposed professionals are screwing it up so badly.
I do think film criticism is the type of thing that can be sustained forever, but there is a level of, like I said, performative mocking that I don't necessarily view that as having a legacy.
This is classic projection. This is classic projection. He was engaging in performative mocking, and so now he assumes that anyone else that's mocking something is performatively mocking.
I didn't want it to be my legacy.
Yes, you don't want to be lumped in with the toxic grifters, as you all like to call them, right, Stuckman?
I don't want to be 65 years old and being like, this movie was a piece of shit. "Ah!" and then have some horribly cringe thumbnail. And I realize it's just not, and it was just making me very unhappy.
Well, Stuckman, if all movie critics and reviewers took the same stance that you take, refusing to criticize and review bad movies, or the Real Rejects method, which is release your inner feelings, whatever the hell that means, through fake reactions.
What we do at our channel is we like to...
The irony of this, that's such a great point. The irony of this is that Chris Stuckman's talking about performative mocking. What about performative fake excitement over Mandalorian and Grogu, or every single Star Wars trailer, every single Marvel trailer, performative squealing and screaming, saying weird sexual things at inappropriate moments? What the hell is that?
Share our emotional connection to movies and shows through what we do. I'm always like, whatever you're feeling internally, let it out, because I do feel that I learn more feelings.
What the fuck? If all movie critics, reviewers, and YouTube content creators were like these two, I think it's pretty safe to say we would never get anything decent or good ever again. All right, that's all I got for today.
Hat tip, Mr. Grizzy, a man, a myth, a legend, a servant of humanity. Humanity. Yes. It is that time, my dear sailors and starnauts. We've had a wonderful evening. Just hanging out, a little performative mockery at the shills and woke Hollywood and video gaming's expense. And I've had a good time. How about you? Don't fret. In just 7 short nights, we will once again convene on the Swords and Starships channel and begin yet another exciting adventure into film, video game, and television show critique. With me, your host, Captain Garrett. So if you enjoyed this, put a like on the stream, share it out there, turn on notifications. We'll hang out again, you and I. Thanks for hanging out with me, Crowbar the Skull, Redoubt Productions, Skunks Workshop, Fu Man Blue, and all the lurkers. We love you. Tom, I know you're out there. Don't deny it. And I am Captain Garrett, the Swords of Starship channel, saying, I will see you out there.